What do we have here? What is this? Okay, that's fine. All right. No one's here yet, but I'm here. All right. I'm finally here. Okay. All right. Today's class, I have some scheduled things. I'm going to go through some basics, like what's interesting, if you're interested in this knowledge of self, then you have to find somebody that is near you or get to someone personally, right? Personally, and speak to them personally like that. You know what I mean? Um, you know, I, there was a session that I think the last session that is already being put up on the law school in Mecca. People was asking if there's a music class, and I'm like, this is the knowledge of self, science of everything in life, the science of everything in life. So everything is going to be covered, but because this class goes so far and wide, the depth of those jewels are more broad based. I think people are thinking that if they get online, they'll get all the answers. And now the fact that I'm online means that I change the nature of the way I teach and the way that I share. I get this thing, I will get deep depending on the specific question. But I'm not always going to volunteer that deeper build in this broadcast class session. It's important to know, I think, for people. You know what I mean? If students are in the classroom, then they'll get lucky and they will hear those deeper messages. You know? But I think that when there's no one in the classroom physically, then the work is on you, the student online, or the viewer, to go beyond viewer into making yourself a student and then adding on a question that gets me into that deeper lane of building. Stephen Moore, peace. Today's a very live day in Mecca, Harlem. There's a whole marching band or something outside. I don't know if you can hear that, but it's peace. It's definitely peace. So please let me know, ask your questions, Stephen Moore. I don't know who you are, whatever you would like to know, but this is the Peace Course, a course taught here longer than any other course at the Law School of Mecca continuously. Over 20 years, since 2020. Political education and civilization enrichment, teaching those how to deal with the outside world as we engage with this knowledge of ourselves, and also the science of everything in life, civilization enrichment. So anything is in the purview, anything is in the subject matter. It's how we attack it, how we deal with it, how we learn from it. So it's how you build, how you ask about it. That's peace. Then I will get into some things since you were listening and learning. There were particular students that I was expecting so I could go here in the physical classroom so that I could go through particular things. But we certainly can go through some things that are particular. Now open up my class notes. Okay. I had to do the knowledge though. There's literally a parade going through Adam Clayton. Intensity, the sincerity. Why is it that we need the knowledge of self? Most people that you see that have the knowledge of self and you don't know that they have it, many people are successful with this knowledge of self. You have no idea that they have this knowledge of self. Most people think that they deserve this knowledge of self, so they receive it religiously. It was destined. I knew I was God. These are early stages. These are early stages in dealing with this knowledge. You know, the Sufic orders, they speak about people wearing, and I said this maybe a week or two ago, wearing the garments of the Sufi in the beginning. And then eventually they reach a level where they see themselves as a Sufi. And then they no longer need the garments of the Sufi. I related to this one day when hell, I didn't, I don't know if I got tired of it, but I felt like it was something I just wanted to conceal for myself. And I didn't want to wear all the clothing that identified me as a martial artist, Guys, we would all wear gis and walk Harlem and everything like that, And I realized, like, I don't know if I want to. I'm okay with wearing a regular shirt, and this is before I became low life, so it wasn't because I was gonna wear polo, It wasn't because I was gonna wear polo. It was because I understood that. Well, it was two things. I understood that I never would be. No one could ever be such a great martial artist that they would never have trouble. And see, we wear the garments of the martial artist to defend ourselves. We wear the garments that show that we are fighters so that we don't get into a fight. But then after a while, I realized, you know what? My own temperament will keep me sane. My own temperament will keep me okay. And so I don't need to wear it anymore in that intense fashion anymore. I think that I say this many times, though, many people that get this knowledge of self, they are searching for a religion. And this is the last final frontier. It says, Sunez, this is not a religion. God, I don't know what Sunez is talking about now. See, he at the school and he get to say crazy shit. Anything is classified as spirituality if it answers the spiritual questions of the populace. So when people say that we are religion, they are erroneous. And yet, I understand that we are answering spiritual questions that they designate as eventual religions. So, in the grand scheme of things, it's tomato, tomato. In the grand scheme of things, it's tomato, tomato. We're beyond that. And yet, when people have gone through every frontier, this is my experience here. This is 20. I just looked up. I look up a lot. Ever since it got put up, I walk here, and before I get here, I look up and I see Allah in just a square. I just look up. And I'm like, damn. I'm always here with people that have been here longer than me. So I don't think about it too much. And yet I've been here 24 years. Been here doing things 24 years. And what I have seen is that people, they just want to answers things. Gives them a peace of mind. Everybody's searching for peace. But the problem is that they're looking for a piece of peace. A piece, a tiny piece of peace in their mind to relax their mind and continue on. Many people learn about us and are excited that this concept exists and the framework that we work to prove it mathematically, scientifically, biologically, every which way mathematically, technically. And yet that's good enough for them to know that we are in this pursuit. And that's it. It's good enough to know that's it. It's good enough to know that, they say. right? To just know that pursuit. All right. I see some more. I can't really read the chat right now, but I see it. Peace. Um, I was watching. I saw a documentary, Untold Hall of Shame, about Victor Conti and Balco, his company Balco, and how they got steroids throughout all the baseball and everything like that. And I was thinking two things: that there is that the obsession to look a certain way when you have a physique that is muscular, super muscular, cartoonish muscular. Because honestly, I go on Instagram, I don't even see muscular anymore. I see cartoonish muscular. You know, I don't see how any of this, the majority of what I see, was achieved through natural means. You know what I mean? And I juxtapose that with the idea that our people have an obsession with finally winning. You know what I'm saying? Finally winning. This is why we accept so much weaker, losing material, losing the work of losers, creations of low quality, efforts of compromise, efforts filled with compromise, I should say. We accept all that because we need wins. You know what I mean? We need wins. You know? I understand it. Not here to argue it right now. But the problem I mean there is that besides all of the moral and ethical ideas, right? Is that we don't look at history correctly. Because we want so many wins, though, we don't analyze correctly. We don't study correctly. We don't disagree and agree correctly. We don't say this was good and that part was bad. You know, we accept all of it. And what happens is that the young generation that is scholarly, and I mean that they have been educated to be able to express themselves in a very technical manner. But I didn't say that they were smart. I said that they were technical, scholarly, in that sense. Our own people, you know, they have. It's not just white people though. It's our own people that have manipulated the woke concepts, all of this stuff, and a lot of it is because they don't have a knowledge of themselves. They have learned to over-categorize everything. They look back on history. And they don't understand what was going on at that time. Like when I see people say like Elijah Muhammad was a devil, like, where are you getting this from? Because he did things that you didn't agree with? Because he had particular issues? Because he has a rift with Malcolm? Or even when we look at it the other side, when we see that Malcolm had the problems with Elijah for things that he shouldn't have had a problem with. Does that negate everything that Malcolm did? It should not. It should be analytical. We should be looking at these as great men, though, in the annals of war. And what they did and what they didn't. I don't think that we look at things like that. But I was watching this documentary and they had the guy Tim Montgomery, I think that's his name. Yeah, he broke the record, Olympic runner. He had a 9.75, something like that. Broke the record. And then he actually didn't. At the end of the documentary, he said, "What they can't take away from me is the feeling of when I stood in front of that record, where the dashboard where it said the record was broken. They can't take away the feeling and the achievement that I had at that very moment. They can't take that very moment." Man, we're obsessed with stuff. We're obsessed with winning. The more that we stay obsessed with winning, though, the more that we will accept cheating because we are in a world where that is acceptable, no matter how you look at it. And it can engross you. It can engulf you. It can destroy you. I know this. So throughout all of it, though, you always have to acknowledge God. Continually knowledge anew yourself and see whether that is a position, a mentality, does it born a mindset of build, or does it born a mindset of destroy? Destroys in that mathematics, but please don't think that when you take that mentality that my knowledge is here to see myself get farther along destroying whoever is trying to destroy me, you have a misunderstanding of mathematics. Destroy is the consequence of all of the great things we build anew, for the reality of a new world built means that whatever was prior is automatically destroyed for something greater. Think about these things. We have this knowledge of self, and everybody just wants to know technicalities of it. They want the answers. They don't want to do any research. Peace, God. When you read the history books, what do you get out of it, though? Do you get notches on the belt and say, that leader was black? That leader was black. This guy was black that did this. This guy was black that did this. These are not the ultimate lessons. The scholarship is incomplete. What happened after? What led him into this? How can I add on in this way that they added on? What was the particular way that they added on that allows me to do what Hannibal did? Our studies are based on chips. Doesn't matter how they got there. It just matters that they got it. A lot of stuff that is irrelevant to the bigger points, the bigger issues, the bigger realities. We don't build for hypotheticals, so you can take those out immediately. We build a healthier lifestyle so that way we could see the advantages immediately. But you won't see the advantages immediately if you don't knowledge God, if you don't knowledge yourself completely. Find your flaws and not see them as particular manners of yourself. Well, I am that way. I am this way. I like that. Anybody has any questions, please throw them in the chat. All right, peace to everybody that's in the chat. I think I see Olu. Peace, Almighty. I think I see Wisdom Infinite Earth. And I think that's 793rd. All right, peace to Earth. Peace 793rd. You know, if anybody has any questions and stuff, you know what I mean? Knowledge God. Brother I was building with was asking me how I see civilization. Today's degree, what is the meaning of civilization? One having knowledge, wisdom, understanding, culture, refinement, and is not a savage in the pursuit of happiness. Civilization is the requisite. It's the first thing that we have to teach. How to have a living form where we can interact in a peaceful manner to achieve goals that uplift the said society we're in. The ability for this conduct to happen, that is civilization. But civilization has been marred, and civilization has been made to be effective through the punishments of unrighteousness, but not the furtherment of righteousness. In other words, there is a punishment for devilishment. But there is no worth to the furtherment of righteousness. America. We could argue whether people are naturally inherently good or whether they're inherently bad. I kind of take a Neo-Confucian viewpoint. And I really think that it is that, as it says in the Confucian Analects, that people are inherently follow those who are the leaders, those who are the best knowers. But what if they can no longer identify the best knowers and there is no system to identify a best knower? See, it's not about democracy, dictatorship, any of those things. Peace, God. Everything's peace, God. Not about dictatorship, democracy, any of those things. It's about who is the best knower. And is there a way to identify the best knower and launch the best knower into the leadership position? That's it. There's very little else. I took a week off, so there should be an extra week of questions. When I take a week off, though, in the summer like this, it's the most vacation I get. I really don't take vacations. I may take time off. All right. So any questions anybody has, please throw them at me. Knowledge is the actual fact, a particular truth, embraced. A creative idea of worth that is valid, that is engaged into wisdom, its use to develop and has a particular revelation of purpose and understanding, and now gets lived out outwardly from the inner to the outer as one's way of life, a particular facet of one's way of life, a culture. And it moves freely, and it has its own what? Propulsive influence. And it is focused, it is particular, it is distinct. And so it automatically has refinement. It is distinct. That's what refinement means there. It is already cultured, but the power is distinct. It is not sloppy. It's distinct. And it leads to what? A proper position of that person with that original idea. A proper, what? Balance, a proper position. And we fulfill our reality. We rejuvenate ourselves in this reaffirmation of self. God. And then we what? Universally change the reality around us because of that. We build. And all that's what once was, whether it was good, decent, average, or even exceptional is now more exceptional. We have destroyed that and we have built the new. And now we have what? Reached an elevated fulfillment. We have born it. And now knowledge, new truth adds on to the cipher, whether it was derived from what we just created or what it was. Creator is in his own creation, creating creation. And creation inspires creator to create. There's nothing else. That's supreme mathematics. When you're learning supreme mathematics, you look at everything. Right now, I was here for a half hour. What would that be in supreme mathematics? Well, thy wisdom, my understanding as God, and I made it born. I walk the streets on 125th and I see knowledge, wisdom, power. You learn in mathematics, you see it everywhere. You do not fit it into your life, though. You see how it has worth in your life. You do not explain how great you are or how maligned you are using it. You seek the truth by looking back on things that happened. No, that was misunderstanding. Because it was knowledge that I used incorrectly, insufficiently, unintuitively, lazily. And all I had was a weak misunderstanding. I went back and looked at what I did. And you plan what you do, write your history in advance, because it will be done. Because its worth and principle is rooted in the way that I live, and it cannot be undone. It will be done this way. It has to be, because these are the only principles that I know, and the only way that I know it to be done. The righteous way, as my brother Starmel says. The righteous way. That's how we use supreme math. Some people don't born the mathematics. How do they say they would have to disprove to me that knowledge God doesn't born it, build? That the knowledge that I continually add, that I see of myself, the truths that I see of myself are the building blocks of all reality. How is knowledge God not born, built? Anybody have any questions? Please let me know. I'll be here till 8 at least. I'll be here till 8 at least. I had these days off where I did a little bit less work, a lot less. These days when I take off, I there's a lot that I don't stop. I don't stop training. I end up reading more, which is, I write a little bit. I see wisdom infinite earth is there. One of the questions that the earthers have to answer for itself is why knowledge God is queen in the alphabet. How does she see herself in that? And how does she knowledge God? Right? These are things to articulate. These are part of the builds that the black woman needs to have. The work that she needs to have to be able to build. I could give answers, but I'm not the earth. She has to see this for herself. Questions to ask. Because even in the supreme mathematics, the black woman goes through 7. She fulfills her reality in the light of God. And so she builds and destroys and also can born things as well. Yes, to be able to articulate this reality into her own words, her own self-styled wisdom. I was right. Let's see. I saw Steph Soul. I did not see you. Peace. I did see who I thought I saw. Peace Indigo. Looking forward to see that magazine. Looking forward to seeing that. Peace, God. Everything's peace, God. Sweating here. What's up with the AC? What's she doing? Yeah. So, thank you, God. Yeah. There we go. Let's move it. Let's pick God. So, okay. True self, peace. Let's see. Wisdom infinite. You said I didn't respect myself until I got KOS, and now that I have the knowledge of who God is and who I am, I can truly call myself a queen. That's an interesting way of putting it. When you say you didn't respect yourself before, how was the knowledge of self missing in that? What makes you respectful? Realized you should have respected yourself this whole time, right? These may not even be answers for me here or anybody in the class, though, but they could be answers for the journal. You know, if we have time, I had a plus lesson about the supreme mathematics. So. See, the God came in here. Peace, God.
Peace to God.
All right. I went through supreme mathematics, and I'll say it again for you here, God, because I got the thing on and everything. But the way to memorize this, the way to use it, is to use it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Right? You wear it everywhere. You know what I'm saying? You wear these garments everywhere. You know, like I don't even know who has this stuff, but they even have them. I saw one young God with them. Didn't tell me where he got it from. I needed in the show and prove. I didn't have enough time to pester everybody.
The young God that being here with us.
Oh, no, it wasn't the God. No. And when we got knowledge and we were newborns, we used to have like pin. It was a pin, just a button. It was a button of just the Father, silhouette, the silhouette photo, the classic silhouette photo, you know. And we wear it all the time and all shit, you know. And I did mean to keep it after I acknowledged 120, but
lost it.
I was gonna say that I have 2 baby mamas and things get lost. You know what I mean? Like things get lost.
I know exactly what you mean.
You know, books, papers and shit. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Things get lost. You know what I mean? But the thing is, though, is that there's constantly reminding ourselves that we have to place ourselves a little extra. Like when we learned martial arts, I was saying that we used to wear gis and shit. You know, we used to wear the gi, like the frog button gis that wear in the movies.
Mm-hmm.
I had every color, God.
Wow.
Every color that they could make, though. You know what I'm saying? And yo, God, I wasn't even thinking this through. I was like, if there's a fancy place I'm going to, I'll wear the satin one. You know what I mean? Like, I wasn't even thinking like I wear a button shirt or some other shit. Yo, God, I was wearing nothing. I was like, I finished college. I'm on my own. If I'm not at work, I'm going to wear whatever the fuck I want to wear. And that's what I'm going to wear because that's all I'm doing. And so the more that we wear the garment, the more we're like, yo, I'm a martial artist. Though. So if I'm not good at some part of it, no, I'm a martial artist. I got to go do it now.
Right.
I'm wearing the garment. I can do it anytime. So we do shit like, we go to the bathroom kung fu. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, everything is kung fu. You know what I mean? Like, you know, wait. That's a chair right there. Maybe I could flip over that. You know, we was doing crazy shit everywhere, God. You know? I wonder if I could kick over that whole table right there. You know, if I could do it, you know? Right? So we're doing all these things. We're like, yo, martial arts all the time, everything. I'm still like that, but people don't notice it. You know what I'm saying? People don't notice it though. Everywhere I go, if I'm traveling in transit, I'm in a fighting stance. Everywhere I go. I'm never on the train regular. You know what I'm saying?
So you're saying that's how I should be with the
all the time. Yeah. But the math see it everywhere. You know what I'm saying?
Because when I said to you earlier, that's how I am with the music.
Right. You've got to live and breathe this shit. You know what I'm saying? It's got to be like you go down, you walk, talk to yourself. Oh, I'm passing knowledge, wisdom, power. I'm passing. Oh, that's that store right there. That's mathematics. The store, everything. Right? Situations and shit. Oh, I was just on the phone though. What in the mathematics would describe that phone call? what God was building, right? About the culture and how we the wisdom, that understanding, bring forth the equality. You know what I'm saying? Like describe the realities in mathematics, so you get an idea how to put these from adjectives to nouns to verbs. You know what I'm saying? Right? Always listen to God cipher. God cipher. You know what I mean? Always in there. You know what I'm saying? This is why, like, sometimes people be like, "Oh no, you're taking this as slang. You're just saying CLR rule for everything and this and that." You know, God's BOD, but they're trying to embed themselves with the culture at all times, so it's second nature. You know, some things become easier for me because I did two things. I was here every day, God. I was here every day, every single day, all night. If I wasn't at work though, I go train, come here. And then half of those training days are here with the gods, training, right? So I'm learning everything now. It's like I went to the university of the 5%. You know what I mean?
Right.
I was here. You know what I mean? One day I'd be like, listen, one day I'd be here and there's, you guys going up to P.E.A.C.E? There's nothing here. I'll go with y'all. And I'm learning with the gods. You know what I'm saying? Rolling with them, saying what they do, all that kind of shit. You know? So how can you keep it all that? You know what I'm saying? How can you do it like that? You know? Because how do you know when you're like, people go, it's like, I'm a 5%er, like when I acknowledge 120 and shit like that? Nah.
All the time.
No. People that I'm a 5%er when I taught somebody that the black man is God and they saw it. Maybe. To me, all of those things need to take place, but when you're a real 5%er is when you have a build that is special, that is unique, and you think it's worthy to share under specific conditions. It might be kind of heavy, but you explored it. You took it through. You took it through your enlightener, and they were like, "Oh, this is good. This is good stuff." You know what I mean? God, I'm here. I'm teaching stuff that nobody teaches. These are my builds, God. When I teach about perfection being constant elevation at an ever-increasing rate, that it is a cipher that grows deeper and deeper, this reality, ain't nobody that said that. When I go through mathematics and I say that's an original idea that goes through the usefulness of wisdom, to the revelation of purpose, right? This is mine. Nobody ever said that.
There's things that you said that I put into poems and rhymes that I wrote. That right there, revelation of purpose. That.
So I'm saying is like, when you have things, understandings of this that are not just like, oh, I got this for everybody else, or like it was when I was learning it. Like, I can't come here though if I don't have an understanding of the days of mathematics.
Right.
Well, shit, you know what I mean? I can't come here if I don't have an understanding of the day's degree, because I'm already on that. I gotta be ready. Sometimes I'll be like, get off the A train. I start walking the wrong way. I ain't ready yet. I start walking the wrong way because I'm like, I don't know anything yet. I'm not ready.
That's how he was.
You know what I'm saying? Like, if I'm not ready, you know what I'm saying?
I felt it.
Oh shit! I'm gonna stay on the train. I keep going uptown and shit. I'll come back.
I feel that way a lot. So
right?
It's like, I'm not gonna lie to you. I feel that way a lot.
You gotta be ready.
Right.
So you gotta live this. You gotta say, listen. When you have that build that has been shown and proven, you took it through me, right? Because I'm your enlightener, right? You took these and said, oh, that's a good build. Make sure you know when I do that, you see me do it, right? I say, memorize that, understand. When I say that, that means I'm with them. If I tell you, memorize that, understand it means I don't want you to forget it, because the shit is you're gonna need it. The next month's 17th day is gonna work out. It's good to call that upon that. That's why I ask you to write stuff. I want everybody to be a writer, but you gotta write stuff because we're gonna get through 12 17s. You know what I mean?
Right. But I'm a writer though, so you know.
Absolutely, I don't have to ask you to be a writer,
right,
but be a writer of many sorts, many forms.
Right.
Not all the forms are yours. I tell everybody that I've ever taught that MC, this is not just one form that you are capable of.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, the thing is, though, I'm around literal writers. You, Dre, and Day Sun is going to be around. You know what I'm saying? So I'm around literally people who been in situations that actually write articles and write stories.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right. So the thing is, live and breathe this, though. See how you would use it. Continually ask, though, well, how could I use this to be useful?
Right.
Because what will happen is you'll just see it, though. Like, it's not enough, God. You know what I'm talking about? We'll leave it like this, right? But it can't just be like, see, I knew the mathematics was right because that happened to them or this happened to me. That's not it. That isn't it. That isn't it. Because the entire universe is a collision of mathematics. Mathematical equations for an infinite amount of people. And that's why when they say it's a mystery God, it's so much mystery to it that they have to say that there's a mystery God, but it's the mystery of all of the equations. You see what I'm saying? How many equations are of mathematics, movements of physics, movements of speech, movements of builds that are in this room of just me?
Elijah Muhammad.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I've been studying Elijah Muhammad for years, and there's a speech where he talks about the actual mathematics. He says mathematics is everything.
Everything.
He said it's
everything.
Everything.
Right. Everything. Right. Everything.
Everything.
So when you come up to those points, though, you come up with your builds on mathematics. How can I use this?
Right. What's
it going to be useful to me? How am I going to use it? Right? That's what you have to write down. How do I see it every day? How I see it every day.
You know what? I seen a video that Evan posted on a golf from Brooklyn. He said every day he studied, and he older, but he said every day he studied. He said every day he write, every day he see. He tries to see what can he equate the lessons and the math to in everything that he does. He said every day that he wake up. Every day. I said,
It has to be every day.
It has to be every day, right?
Every day. You know?
Right.
And all of this shit about, I don't want my life to be boring. I don't want it to be the same thing and this and that.
My life is already boring. I'm about myself 98% of the time.
All of that is bullshit.
Right.
All of that is bullshit because everything that is done great.
You do it alone.
All the legends.
Alone.
Right? All the legends that do great things. They're doing things in mass repetitiveness.
Right.
Massive repetitiveness. Whether it's Coltrane, whether it's the great writers, massive repetitiveness.
And
you know what I'm saying?
Somebody said to me years ago, a dude that I grew up with, we don't speak no more, but this holds true. He said repetition makes it natural.
Yeah.
Repetition makes it natural. That always stuck with me. Repetition makes it natural.
Every time I thought, every time I wasn't sure I'd be the writer I thought I could be, I kept doing it because I said, if I don't become the writer I could be, it's still a good thing to write. It's still a good thing. If the activity is positive, then there can't be any harm to continue to do it. You know what I'm saying? I may not be the greatest athlete ever, but if I continue to do it, I can only get in greater shape.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Right. It's the only thing that happens. You know? Learn more, you pick up more, study more. But that mathematics, you just gotta see it everywhere. This is why I'm so careful. I'm very careful with the new student, the newborn. When it comes to mathematics, I don't race you through 120. If you're in 120, I say, giddy up, hustle up. Just memorize that shit. Don't be acting like you're gonna find 100 references for each thing. Right. You know, I don't give a fuck about your scholarliness. Memorize that shit. You have to get the task of memorizing it, though. 120 is very interlaced. You're not going to get a superb, mind-blowing understanding of each degree one at a time. Memorize this shit. Get a general idea. Know the confusions you have. Get a general idea. Memorize it.
So when I get to that point and I get confused,
That's when you're gonna have the instruction from me. That's when you're gonna have. If it's confusing you, these are the books. These are the things.
Right.
But the mathematics is different. It's something you have to live with,
Right.
and I cannot give you that.
Right. That's something.
You see what I'm saying? It's different.
Right.
When you live out, memorizing 120 is really the first way of living it out. Because there's supposed to be a lot of things that don't make sense. No, keep going, keep going. You're good. That's why I call it the developing understanding that gets you through each set with me. Then, okay, now when you analyze the whole thing, you say, oh shit, this goes with that.
Right.
And this goes with this. And I see, oh, okay. So now I see the whole plot. When you get through the 1 to 40, you're going to know, I see the whole plot. And this is why we deal with 120, and this is why there's so much to be dealt with mathematics, because if you just think of it as a 120 grind, all you're going to be doing is talk about them.
Mm-hmm.
Yakub, and this and that. And when I say Yakub, wasn't necessarily a devil, and their head is blown.
I never thought
It doesn't matter what the fuck he was on.
Right.
His mindset was about separation.
Right. Right.
But his end game, if you read 120 carefully, his end game was about exposing the devilish shit. And to do it in a 6,000-year reign for people that live in blocks of 25,000 years, each Quran is 25,000 years, then it's less than a quarter of a Quran. So he did this. He did this in a blip.
Mm.
In a blip. To us living it daily,
Right.
it's going to be our whole life,
right?
It's going to be our whole life, and that's where you get why God made devil. That's the green to show forth and prove that laws of God always has been, always will be. To show forth and prove myself. All the gods after this is all over will never have the opportunity that we have now. Because they'll have to look back though and say, we're creating great things. Look, we create shit. There'll be some God in the future. He goes, listen, I can astroplane myself and shit, but I can't do any of the shit that Sunez was doing. With the little that he had, I could never even think of doing what the Father did with the little that he had in the time that he had.
In the short time that he had.
63, 64, 65, 67, 68, 69.
Right, 7 years. Wow. Unbelievable. In 7 years, the school is 7, 21, 20. Wow. That's a purpose. Revelation is a purpose. Wow.
He didn't say, hey, you can kill me now. He didn't say that.
Peace.
Peace, God. Of course, he would love to live longer, see all of us do all this. Probably get us out of a lot of jams that we didn't need to be in with his discipline.
Mm.
But God only needs that amount of time.
Do you think if the Father was here, he would allow physical justice?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not.
No, I don't think so. Because
he didn't have it when he was
one of the
here.
most important things about this teaching to last a long time, and he would have realized it himself, having it a long time himself, was, it's like a woman though. If she really loves you, you gotta let her go. Can't hold on to him. It's like water.
But she'll come back.
It's like water though, right? Like Bruce says, right? You can't hold the water. That's from the Tao Te Ching. You can't hold water. You know what I'm saying?
Oh man, you just fucked me up.
Right? Wow. And then, man, shit. Let me go through my soul crates this weekend. Because they done sung that song, blues and soul, bolero, bachata, salsa, right? You gotta let them go. And if they come back, they were meant to stay. You know what I'm saying? Same thing with us, though. You know what I'm saying? No, women that are clingy, we're there. If we're truly there, we're there because we want to be. That's what it is. And the same goes with a student, though. I don't hold them. This was a different teaching approach. this style that I'm doing wasn't done in the classroom this way. It was more of a, you have to have this knowledge or you're a piece of shit. You're in here, there's a reason you're here, you better get this shit. Then I come along, right? So many people looking different, right? You already know, right?
Right, I know.
And I'm like, I gave you everything you need. You don't ever want to come back, you don't have to come back. I didn't tell students though, you don't need this knowledge and stuff now. You need to learn how to read. You need to study better. Then make your choice. You know? And you know what? Nobody would see that was right though, but I was dealing with my own sanity. I'm not gonna come here every fucking Thursday and yell at people to be like me. I don't want anybody to be like me. I have a twin brother and he's not like me.
Right.
I think I'm okay and understand that people cannot just be like me. And yet, that's the whole thing. My twin brother isn't like me, but he's so much alike me.
Right.
You get what I'm
I
saying?
get what you're saying. It's your brother.
Yeah, it's still alive. People will see it and be like, y'all niggas, they wouldn't know we're twins. They may think we're brothers or cousins or some shit now.
Right.
Right? But then they would be fooled because we have such a similar vocal tone and shit like that. But we're different. But we're still the same. They gotta want to be here. You know what I'm saying? And you know what? Those students have had people that I have taught have come back and said particular things that I said. And I said, wow, that sounds like me. Yeah. Years later, 4, 5, 6. I don't even know who they are. I'm like, what the fuck is you? You know what I mean? And they may have stuck with the knowledge because of it, or they didn't though. But we're here to teach the whole world and make successful men and women out of all these children, out of all these boys and girls. Just like the way the knowledge got us there. You know what I'm saying? So now you gotta see like that. Use it like that. Use it all the time. You know what I'm saying? This is why I get on you. You know what I'm saying? It's not about. It's never about like, well, there's devils everywhere. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
They're gonna keep deviling though. The society's built that way. They really built it that way. You know, you're good. You know what I'm saying? Well, what's the ultimate goal? To do something, to create something great. And one of those is to create a viable longevity. There was some. I was listening to a doctor on a show. I listened to a podcast. I listened to. You know what I'm saying? And I was saying to it about the bullshit about the vaccines and how that was bullshit and how it's really affecting people and shit like that. You know, all of this shit now, it's amplified all of these diseases. Amplified them. The cancer, people that had subtle forms of cancer is blown away. And they find out that, you know, these spike proteins, they don't leave all that shit, right? But he said something that was like a real jewel to me. Like he was like, people don't live longer now. Now that by itself is a wrong statement, right? He said they don't live longer now, they die longer.
Meaning that they
in other words,
live, dying, they live.
People they might die 70, 80, but they ain't shit from like 40 on.
Right.
And we've been around that. Like, how we growing up though? I remember growing up, right? Some of I had older cousins that were like 10 years older and shit like that. And they'd be like, oh, you'll see when you're my age, everything starts to break down. So how old are you? It's like 20, it's like 29. You know what I'm saying? And we young, so we're like never. You know what I'm saying? I don't give a fuck how much life beats me down, though. I'm gonna make sure we have longevity. See? That's what we're pushing for. The quality of it. Not to be like 30 and say, I wish I could do those things and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? It's not the same. You know? It's almost like we learn, age also teaches us our place. You know? Now that doesn't mean I'm saying everybody be youthful, dress like a buffoon, only wear polo with 50 colorways. You know what I'm saying? No, I didn't say that. You know what I mean? You know what I'm talking about? Like, I see brothers like 60 years old wearing like, I can't do it. You know what I mean? Like, I have like colorway shorts and I only wear them at home. I can't even do it.
Right.
I can't do it. You know what I mean? Like, I just wear them like for fun with the kids and shit. I'm at home and shit.
Right.
But no, I can't wear those polos like that out. It's not me. It's not me. You know what I mean? I think I have like maybe 2-3 shirts I wear outside that have 3 colors on them. You know what I mean? But the point being, though, right? What I'm talking about is that youth where like you could do what you want to do and you can experiment with new things physically. Try new things. You know what I'm saying? When you go to the gym, you're not scared to exert yourself.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? When you go work, like people, brothers be young and shit. They're like, I actually hear shit. I studied like I studied half hour and I was like, that was enough. Fuck you talking half hour? Half hour? You know what I'm saying? When I got knowledge of self, God, I was like, yo, we went to school. We had to spend the whole fucking day in school, 8 o'clock to 3 o'clock.
Right.
So I was like, yo, when I have these days off, I'm going to study this shit from 8 o'clock to 3 o'clock and actually have a school day. And I would do shit like that, God. I told you, I would do shit where I would practice breaking night reading, like a whole, see if I could read 20 hours in a row.
Passing out while you read.
Yeah. And you know what's funny? I was reading a lot of ancient Zen texts, right? And I was doing it one time, and I'm reading through it. And one of the things the ancient Zen Buddhist said was like, never break night. And I was like, oh, fuck, I'm in the middle of doing this, reading this fucking book. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, listen, at least I understand. At least I understand, because even if I come out with headaches and shit, I know that we shouldn't be doing that. Rest, I respect it. Right. You got to get to certain hours and that. I really work on that a lot. You know what I'm saying? And but I had to test my body though. You know what I'm saying? When I was doing martial arts, I had to test the body. You know what I mean? So what could we do? You know what I'm saying? But then what we was learning also longevity and care, how to care for the body.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? How to take care of it though, how to rest it. You know? How to rest it and shit like that.
That's one of the reasons why I stopped smoking.
Like a lot of the Chinese way of Kung Fu, they're not always in agreement with the way Bruce Lee trained. That extra exertion where he was training at almost all hours, that wasn't really what they was about. It was about intensity and then letting go. Intensity and then letting go.
So when
you see them in the Shaolin temples and they look like they brutalizing the kids and making them train forever and shit. That's because at the young age though, they're malleable. So they want them to be so used to the stretching and things like that it don't go away.
Gotcha.
Because like a person like myself, there's just certain stretches that it's gonna break certain things.
Stretching.
Right? If I do a split and get to a split, it's gonna fuck up other things. I'm gonna pull things, tendons. I have to do certain things to my back. Like it's gonna be tough. You know what I mean? So I'm fighting with that body type that I was already set. Whereas a child it's malleable. They could do a lot of things. You know what I'm saying? Right? But it was always about like the care of the body, the mental. You know what I'm saying? But we haven't even got to that part yet. We haven't challenged ourselves. You know what I mean?
Well, I look that I challenge myself because I realize there's certain things I just need to better about myself. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Oh, excuse me. Peace.
Can someone open up the that gate?
Just this is supposed to be here.
Oh,
And I think I heard it.
okay. Should be here.
Okay. About opening the gate. Okay, let's see here. Equator 7, yeah, blip. You know, that's something I always think about. A lot of Buddhist literature, how they always, that whole thing where people say, like, this is all just a blip in time and shit like that. That actually comes from a lot of the Buddhist texts. You know what I mean?
Have you studied Buddhism?
Yeah, a lot. You know, our Qigong is Buddhist, you know? And when I was training, I really got into these texts. I didn't study martial arts, fighting through the text. I studied philosophies through the text. Because I figured I'm learning the skills to fight and defend myself, right? And it's adaptable. You know what I'm saying? Like I was talking about the Wing Chun. My Qigong didn't teach me Wing Chun particularly. He taught me aspects, but he taught me in such a way where I could adapt to all the styles that we learned. You know what I'm saying? And that was a style that other brothers in my that I was training with, other of my Seahing brothers that we were training, they also did that. You know, and we fell for that too because it's an inside style. We're in the city, right? Inside fighting, that's always, you know, Chinese boxing, that's always going to be useful, right?
Did you feel awkward when you first started learning?
Every part of it. And to this day, there are days where I feel awkward. All the time. Yeah. Yeah. You don't just step into that flow.
Right.
Yeah. But I studied a lot of the ancient texts then, and a lot of that had to do with the fact that one of my personal studies was the black man has always been God, and that this wasn't invented by us or the Nation of Islam or anybody else. So was this taught by the original peoples throughout history? And the more you study, the more you find that this is the case. You know what I mean?
Right.
The Taoists taught it in their own unique ways, you know, like the Tao Te Ching, one of the translations has at least 3 times, and the town, you know, the town, no, not the town's clear. Anyway, it's my favorite translation of the Tao Te Ching. It's an Asian brother, but I can't remember his name. But at least 3 times in 3 different surahs, they ask, how do I know the universe? And the answer is by what is within me. The Zen Buddhists as well. They said that all sin is but a veil in front of the mind.
The question was, how do you know what's in the universe?
Yeah.
And you said
By what is within me. Right? The Zen patriarchs are known to say that there are no sins, that all sins are just veils upon the mind, that the mind is always pure. There's also something that's spoken about, though, in the Dhammapada, that even if you kill the king, the queen, and your own mother, righteousness is still a possibility. And that goes with the degrees, though, right?
So a murderer can still be righteous?
There's always, you can always be saved from a mental death. The only death that people have cannot come back from is a physical death. Okay? So all of that is possible, you know, depending on what they do and how they see, you know. And I can say that I've taught many people that were murderers. They had bodies, so they wanted a new start. They wanted to see this better. So what would they do to be righteous? You know what I'm saying? Right? To atone in their own mind, all these things. Right? See, it may not. They may not. Yeah. They may not be able to atone. But there is always the possibility, if they are alive, to spend a life working at that. And those marching bands of the parade are taking their circle back, I guess. Peace to the God King. I see you, God. Maybe I'm spoiled, right? You know, I was thinking about this. The Hip Hop 50 did not inspire me because being here for this nation, being 50 was much more impressive to me. Much more impressive. Hip Hop 50, that would have been 50 regardless to whom or what. The works of art are gonna age regardless to whom or what. You know what I mean? But is it really 50? And I don't mean like the start date or nothing like that, but is it really 50? Is it actually a viable set of cultural expressions that people do daily, that the youth engage in? Do the youth engage with? Do they wake up and say, listen, I am going to partake in these expressions that are rebellious and can be countercultural to the reality? If we say it like that, though, maybe this shit is not 50. Maybe this shit died already. I said, but for me, it did. But I'm God, though. I was going to express myself regardless to whom or what in any other form, fashion as possible that I create and I invent. So the question still circumvents. Just a thought, just an idea, just a contrary thought about this whole 50 thing. I was saying, God, that I wasn't as impressed with Hip Hop 50 because I was much more impressed when this nation became 50. Because we kept teaching.
When did this nation become 50? Like, was that
1964, right? At 50, yeah. When was it?
1964. Was that 2020?
14.
2014, right?
Yeah.
50 years.
Yeah. This could be 60, right? But I was saying,
only 2 more years.
Is hip hop 50 years old? I'm not talking about the start date. I'm talking about, like, is it still alive?
Well,
Because we'll make music and we'll create through it. But as far as it being alive, though, do young children at mass wake up and say, this is how I'm going to express myself?
Somebody said something about the hip hop. The celebration is now cycled because the elements, nobody lives the elements anymore.
That's what I'm saying.
Nobody does the
That's what I'm saying.
The elements of
See, like we do it, and we do it multiple ways, Peace, right? In multiple ways, but we grew up with it.
How you doing?
Everything peace out.
I see somebody see that the other day, they were like, "Yo, y'all celebrating 50 years, but nobody's living the elements." And you know,
Thank you, God.
a lot of the people that said hip hop is dead, most of the people that killed it.
Yeah.
Because
All right. Ja Rule at any concert for Hip Hop 50 is true.
Right. Right. You know what I'm saying?
I don't want to see any 2000s hits in Hip Hop 50 concert.
Anything after 2000, because somebody Prince
It
Poe
was pop rap.
Prince Poe said to me when we was cool, he said to me, he's like, "Yo, Sid, you came out at a different time." He said, "You came in 2008." He said anything before 2008, anything after 2010 is a different time. He said you came out at a time when people still was into pure hip hop around 2000, before 2010. He said after 2010, the shit dramatically changed. He says,
Right. But for me, that happened because of the 2000s. That's when they figured it out. Because remember, my vantage point is from the media, the labels, Right. See, people don't realize that if you're in media like I was, I'm dealing with labels in a different way than artists are. Artists are only going to have their own perspective with labels.
Okay.
But I'm seeing many labels. So I'm seeing trends. I'm not seeing my label experience. That's why the artist gets dismissed when he says, "Oh, I went through this bullshit, this and that." We only listen to him when they say a whole bunch of people. You know what I'm saying? Like, think about it. Artists say labels ain't shit all the time, and people are still hungry. It's because they don't believe the rapper. They think, well, they didn't work for them. They don't believe the person telling their story.
Because the person telling the story is not telling their story.
But they don't believe it with. If you have legendary lines like Q-tips, right? Industry ruler. No, they're like, "Oh yeah, that's crazy," but right?
It's for real.
But they believe that because they're still pitching themselves to try to be on that, to try to be on a label. But I was seeing all the little trends and shit in media. That's when the magazines became this thick. They figured it out. They figured out what's the perfect blend of diluted that's going to get people to say, "Oh, it's really rapping, but it's also diluted enough." You know what I'm saying? Now, labels are starting to say, "I don't like what you're saying there." Not like when they say a line like, "I killed pregnant women," like the Biggie stuff,
Right.
not like that. But like, I don't really like that subject matter of this thing. And I was at places where they were like, "I don't really like this song. I don't really like this song that you're doing with it was a group that I'll tell you later, but they were doing a song. They did a song with a militant group, and they were like, "Oh, that's not your thing. We don't know. We don't want you to do that." You know what I'm saying? And I was there in the middle of a whole label fight with the artists.
Wow.
So they was catching up to the lyrics, man. They was figuring out what was being said. You know what I'm saying? So now they could tell you, I don't know if I like that, this and that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, I think one of the main reasons now that I'm older, why All For One was bootleg, was because if you listen to the context of that album, they couldn't let that shit get to the masses like that. Even though it did, bootlegging, but if that album never got bootlegged and actually went platinum, double platinum, this game would be fucking.
They don't care though. They don't care. Before you have to look for talent though. Now you're turning away talent. So now you can get what you want. We got bags and back. When I was in the Source 05, shit looked like bags to Chris Kringle. Bags of mail to Chris Kringle. That's how much unsigned hype shit there was. And I was like, what are these things here? Like, that's unsigned hype. You heard all that shit? No, we can't even get into it.
Why not? Listen to this shit. You don't know what you meant.
It was bad.
I listen to all that shit.
It was bags and bags and bags of CDs. Maybe like I'm gonna say at least 6 bags of big garbage bags, you know, super garbage bags about that big of CDs, you know, and it never got like it's fucked up. But no, they can't. At the time I was there, but that didn't get like that from a weekend. That got because they didn't give a shit for a long time.
Right, that shit is years.
Yeah. They didn't give a shit for a long time, and so they didn't never tackled it to look. So how do they keep their ear? They just find people that have their ear. They find people,
Nepotism.
yeah, and they let the A&R be the scout. And really, he's not a scout, right? He's a pitcher,
I get it.
right? A scout, A&R is a pitcher. He's not a scout. He disguises himself as a scout. Like, look what I found, but he's really pitching. He's finding things that the label he works for really wants. You know, it's all that shit.
Right. Yeah. I figured.
But like, what is the culture of youth today? What is their culture?
Death.
Because if they rhyme, and a lot of kids, they rhyme, right? They never stop rhyming and shit like that. But when I hear like young kids rhyme, they're clearly not rhyming for skill.
Oh no, not at all.
Like the shit is not in any kind of pocket. It barely rhymes. Their punchlines are mad basic.
It's definitely now to me. I mean, it always was like that, but definitely now they're just rhyming, just the rhyming, to get people to like them.
Right. Yeah.
They're rhyming to rhyming because girls see you doing something and they're going to give you something.
It's a character.
Right.
It's a character. So as I said, this knowledge of self, you know, this nation hit 50, and I was like, no matter what, we have to keep teaching.
So next year is 60.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. 2024. Yeah.
Wow, that's a milestone.
It's amazing and it's young as hell.
Yeah.
It's young.
Yeah.
To say that we're, you know, none of these black power groups are still around. Black Panthers, Young Lords, nobody. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Mouse, nobody. Nobody's around.
Wow.
They could resurrect Black Panthers a million times, though.
They'll never be what it
they're not here.
Right.
You know, because the greatest resurrection, they killed him. When Khalid Muhammad did it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And he was
it for real. He was it.
Yo,
I just seen that documentary
we,
the other day that you
we used to
Wow.
we used to walk these streets, God, and we would run into them regularly, God.
Right, because you know, like me looking at that documentary on Khalid Muhammad, do you know he actually lived these lessons, the mathematics? He actually
was a builder. He was a builder.
Shit.
He was a builder.
And he had an issue with Farrakhan and certain decisions that he made, and he would bring up the lessons when he was mad at Farrakhan, he would bring up the lessons. He would bring up the 120 and quote it all the time, saying, "This is what you said. This is what goes here."
Khalid had the same problem that the father had in many ways. When you become so tapped into the youth and what really is the core, then you're already out of the target market reach that the NOI looks for. They're not looking for youth. You know what I'm saying? Your age group is the what they look for.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because you're going to give up and say, there is some type of mystery, and I'll give myself up, and I'll be a Muslim, and I'll be in this unity thing. You know? I need an institution to guide me. And that's still peace, God. Because some people got to do that. Some people can't do this. Not some. Most people can't do this. You know what I'm saying?
I see that a lot of people that's doing this, from what I see, is not really doing it from the perspective of what it's supposed to be. What it looks like to me, they're doing it from the
You
perspective.
can't see, the thing is, though, God, right?
Mm-hmm.
I see that all the time.
Okay.
And it never affects me because I know that what I'm doing, though, is nearly impossible.
What you're doing, right?
What I'm doing is nearly impossible.
It is because you've been here 20 plus years.
Well,
and what I've noticed is that there's other people that teach here who class won't be filled up. You know what I'm saying? From what I've noticed looking at videos and everything that recent, their class will be filled up. So then the class will just be me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I'm seeing that that's my choice. Because people can come here.
Sure, yeah. I never worry about the fluctuations, God, because all the gods build, if I teach a certain day, I don't know if that affects it.
Right.
I don't know. I don't do market research.
Right.
You know
Exactly.
what I'm saying?
Mhm.
I know if I taught a weekend, I would get more people.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
But those weekends are for me and my
Your
children.
children.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That's what that's what it's for. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I never felt any qualm about that. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
But
But I look at things that people
When
use out
people-
what they choose.
if people learn from me though, they gotta do real work though. I'm not saying that they don't do real work in anybody else's class though, but they have to do some scholastic shit with me.
Yeah.
And that's just
Like I said.
especially God if they're younger,
Mm-hmm.
because if they never broke out that pen, they're gonna break it out. I'm gonna make sure that you know you're a shitty writer. Don't be telling me shit. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
See, like you're older, so I expect you to be in these pursuits.
Right.
You know, you especially should have full confidence though that you could do all these things.
Right.
Because you really are that talented. So all of these new endeavors, whatever I throw on you, I'm just waiting because you're already grown. There's a different way of teaching you grown. I don't have to be on you.
Right.
But the young student that comes here, they're gonna have to do work. You know what I'm saying? If they want these lessons, they're gonna have to push. You know what I'm saying? It's even more so where I'm trying to engage them where they have to do a little extra work. Now that the students are more engaged using the phones, text, things like that, then they have to engage me that way too and expect to be engaged that way. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because if we're not going to be around here all the time, then we have to have a different way of doing our culture. You know? Before, like, you have to come here. You come here every day. You know what I'm saying? Nothing has that vibe anymore. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Nothing has that vibe anymore. You know? Right? Nothing. That's why it's similar to hip hop, you know? You do stuff and you're not even with the people. You know? You're living it out. You're creating, you're not even with the person. I'm doing all these albums with King Kamal. We never physically met.
I wanted to ask you that. So as he sends you the music, you go to the studio.
I don't go to any studio. I just record at home. And he does magic tricks with whatever I do, and it's not the microphone, but with whatever I have.
You send it back to him, he mixed. He does it.
He works magic though. That's why I call him Quincy. Come on.
Yeah, now I see that. Okay, I get it now. Okay, because I was trying to figure out, because I tried
God,
to figure that out.
I have put so much pursuit into writing that this making music was never a thought. You know what I'm saying? Never a thought. So I never invested in that. You know? Never invested in that. You know?
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. The way y'all gotta come together for you.
Yeah. Oh, that's gonna be great though. Like that's gonna be a party, man.
Yeah.
Be a
Wow.
party. Mhm.
And it's great that you have a friendship like that with somebody.
Oh, absolutely. That's a powerful brotherhood.
Because it comes through creation, and
Mm-hmm.
what you said to me, creators create.
That's
creations.
that's right.
And,
That's right.
And that's what I see you consistently doing in writing, music, podcasts. You consistently create.
Peace, God. Yes, peace, God. Yeah. Absolutely. Let's see if anybody. Peace.
How you doing?
Peace, Malik.
Oh, wow, no, how we go? Grace, okay.
No. No. You know what's funny? No, it's not. It's not crushed by building now. Time now. Yeah. Yeah, that whole thing was really trash. Peace, truth rules. Anybody has a question, just let me know. I'm doing an honest to all this. Anybody wants to email me because I keep saying that we have to build further, We have to do things to get beyond. Okay, I got divine peace. Yeah, Cake said, what about the Melly Mel bars? That whole thing was a fiasco.
He played himself.
What he did, then apologizing and
Yeah, he
stuff.
played himself was right.
I don't see why he had to apologize for doing it this song.
Yeah,
No, but like, of course, but
No,
he got this.
First of all, he got this, and then number two, you've been dissing niggas before I was born. Melly Mel's the biggest hater. He don't like nobody. He still feels he's the greatest rapper in the Bronx, and at one point in time,
but
he was.
For what he did, it's okay that he feels that way forever. Yeah.
You don't apologize.
He should feel that way forever, and
apologize.
He could make a bad song, but he could just say, I didn't. Honestly, the only thing he should admit though is like I didn't win the battle.
What he should admit is that I didn't take my time because I thought both the verses was whack. I thought M was whack.
Yeah.
Was whack.
Yeah.
M is.
Same.
I'm not a fan of Eminem. It's probably one song.
But you know what though? M really only dissed him in one line. The thing about the steroids though. But I think that diss was so hard on him that he couldn't really recover.
Yeah, I mean, you're about 80 years old, and you look very healthy, but
He looks steroidal though, man.
This is the game. We're gonna diss you. Like somebody's gonna try to diss me, and they're gonna try to come out something, and I'm just gonna react on some shit. Like it's never gonna be physical. Like with hip hop with me, it should never be physical because what I learned growing up in the Bronx is that the rules was if you rap, you got a battle. If you break dance, you got a battle. If you DJ, you got a battle. If you don't want to do that, you got to leave the community. That's the rules. And so there's no violence. We put this, hip hop was actually created from Cool Herc to stop the violence. You know what I'm saying? So all of this smoking the enemies and you doing crime so you can rap about it. You got the whole shit backwards. That's not where it goes. If you want to battle somebody, there's supposed to be no violence involved.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So what they doing now, hip hop is dead.
See, and that shit, the youth don't have a cultural. They don't create culture that has code to it or anything like that. And I don't know if they embrace hip hop like the way we did, like historically. Like we would say, like we thought certain things was whack, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like older shit was whack, but we still had to go check them. Like we had to know it though, to make sure. You know what I'm saying?
I grew up in the South Bronx, so I actually was in the jams in the park. I actually saw. Matter of fact, in my community, like said G, we follow each other on Instagram. We're from the same neighborhood. Tim Dog lived 3 buildings away from me. Said G lived up the block on 3rd Avenue, right next to Cool Keith. I watched all of these dudes do their thing. Tim Dog, I seen them film the video before Compton. I moved the Forest Project with my sister, still moving Webster. I see the whole DITC flourish from it.
That's
you know what I'm saying? The history I seen in the Bronx, I seen this shit happen.
Top 5 crew to me.
I seen this shit.
Love digging in the crew.
So it's like, there's rules that happen, and don't get it confused. There's fights that happen, there's violence that happen. But at the end of the day, it's many battles that happen because people didn't like each other, communities didn't like each other, neighborhoods didn't like each other, and they had to battle, and that was it. That's wrong. There wasn't no smoke in your enemy. You didn't go to your enemies and kick his candles over it and film it and say F him and F the crew. We didn't do shit just for people to know about it. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like now is the time where you want to do 40 years in jail. Like you doing shit just to automatically go do 50 years. Like you want to do that. You doing crime so everybody can know about it. You're rapping about it. You're telling people about it. You're doing it. You're filming it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? This is not what it was about when I was a little boy. Actually living it and seeing the rappers now, that's elder now, 60, 70, 60, 50 something years old, when they was young.
Because it's also somewhat, I'm not saying that I enjoy making everything, covering what brothers is doing, all the artists, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the youth don't seem to have a viable way of expressing themselves. And the codes that we have are not there. So that means that they're not doing this. You know what I'm saying?
And actually not.
And so the youth that get the knowledge itself have to figure out new ways to relate to them. See, no matter what though, like we always teach the young, we focus on the young though. But see, people get it twisted, right? They go like, listen, we gotta go teach the young. So it's like all of a sudden, like we're older, but we have to have this super magnetic that draws the kids immediately. That's not really how it works. All the young that were being taught though, they were pretty young themselves. You know what I'm saying? And when the father taught, he didn't go out and teach all of the young. It was select individuals. But he was getting the young, the firstborn, to go teach the young. So he didn't draw all the young. He had select that he drew up. But the young was drawing the young, the firstborn. And then they get their first fruit, and then those first fruit, right? Build with theirs. But it's the young drawing up the young. So it's like we have select people that we teach that's young. But how do we have to teach them how to share with them, how to make things, how to create things, how to be leaders. So I think that there's a lot of young that's being taught, but they're not quite taught yet how to be 5%ers. So a lot of the young generation that's getting knowledge, and this includes some of my students, they're not really prepped to be 5%ers. They're not ready yet. They're not adept at it. And a lot of it is because a lot of the students that are young, they get knowledge, but they didn't get it from somebody in the street or somebody directed them here. They get it because they did their own research.
Right.
So when they come here, they're not like already in the street. They're not like, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
They're not necessarily those kind of kids and shit. So it's a different way of teaching them.
Yeah, I was always in the street, and I, like for years, had knowledge of myself to a degree, but like I told you, it wasn't in the proper context. And then there's the job pretenders that want to manipulate and try to think.
But the students that are young now, 1920s, early 20s, they have different problems now too.
Yeah, with drugs
and
right, different things. Yeah, gangs.
They can't, and now they just can't just like for example, you can't really be a stick-up kid of the old sort. People don't carry cash.
right.
You know, like you can't just be that basic. You know what I'm saying? Yes, you could steal people's clothes, things like that, right? But then there's such easier ways to do it now. Why would you do that? Right? So the young student,
they're doing scamming now.
They're having their own problems though, but they're also in a digital world.
Right.
So how do they get other students? To me, it's always by the creative works. What they create and what they develop is what's going to extend that magnetic. And that's what's being stifled. You know? The magnetic has been reduced, right? The magnetic, like on social media, is the main thing. And the magnetic has been reduced to unlike attract. You do devilishment, it attracts.
Yeah.
And it even attracts us because I see most of our 5%ers or brothers be like, look at this bullshit, look at this, right? That's still unlike attract. That's why I almost never comment on bullshit. You know what I'm saying? I don't comment on bullshit. I almost never do it. It's not that I'm not political and all that kind of shit. These algorithms are real tight. They cause a grip now. They used to give you a lot of shit. If you want something else, they'll adjust and broaden the scope. Nah. The algorithm now, if you like, let's just talk about music. You like hip hop music, they give you hip hop music of a sort that you like.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I like spit gems, they'll throw me Napoleon the Legend, right? They'll throw me something else similar. But now, if I like country and I like Dolly Parton, I like Emmylou Harris, right? I got big collections of all that shit, right? Listen, I'm going the opposite way. Now the algorithm gets stuck there and it leaves the other.
Yep.
Instead of giving me everything that involves this shit, so I could go through the whole shit.
Right.
And you know, I love jazz and shit. Now the shit gets stuck with this. And for like 1 week, it'll be stuck with just jazz. I don't see nobody doing no hip. You know? This week was Hip Hop 50. I clicked on shit. It gave me Hip Hop 50 all week. You know what I'm saying? Until I got ad nauseum. Ad nauseum. You know what I'm saying?
But you know what's crazy about that? Like Hip Hop 50, when it was coming up, it was so everything. Now that it happened last week, now you see like everything is like,
Yeah.
It's like now it's nothing.
Because people wanted, all you saw was Hip Hop 50 in general for me. And I didn't go to any Hip Hop 50 event. And that wasn't because I'm a hater. It's really because I was with my daughter, though.
Right.
And she don't give a shit about that. And so I don't.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right. I get it.
You know what I'm saying? She don't, that's not what she's into. So
That's not what
we ain't doing that.
I get it.
Right?
I get it.
But it was a nostalgia concert. Because people our age, though, aren't like us. They're not actually living and creating things anew. They're just, oh, I remember, like, you know, I'm going to sing the songs of my youth. So when I was watching Hip Hop 50, I was thinking of my dad and all those doo-wop concerts. So when you see it, you know, the Delphonics at the Beacon Theater, you know, shit like that.
Yeah, I'm going to shit you not, because I went to the Hip Hop 50. I got there when Ice Cube was on. I got there when it was at his peak. I lost my fucking mind. I lost my mind looking at the best part of it to me was Run DMC. Snoop killed it because he brought out EPMD.
Wait, who brought it?
Snoop brought out EPMD. He brought out Slick Rick and Dougie Fresh. That shit was crazy. Like, he had the best part of the show. But then Run DMC, it took me back to the James in the Park. It took me back to the James in the Park when I was little.
That's what I'm saying, though. The nostalgia of it, though.
God.
But it's the same as when people go see doo-wop acts and shit.
Right.
And they're all like mad overweight and they don't really hold the notes like they used to.
Yeah, because Run DMC was,
you know what I'm saying? Like,
but it was still the best shit ever.
Right. You know? I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But our age group isn't really living anything youthful.
Nah.
You know what I'm saying? And they say that they're hip hop because they liked hip hop of that era, and they'll just say it doesn't exist anymore. But there's so many brothers our age and so many brothers that are not our age and younger that make the hip hop that they would love, and they don't even support it at all.
Right.
Me and the guy can come on talk about all the time. So it's like, where do whoever we teach that's young, we have to teach them to be the vanguard, to lead the young that they're around out with that work that you do. It's always about the works, you know what I'm saying? And it doesn't matter because like people worry, like sometimes the gods worry we don't teach you that, this and that. It's always the few that have the knowledge. That's why the percentage is like this. Because before, when the gods were teaching in the 60s and 70s, it felt like everybody was, but all that really was that everybody was exposed to it. You know what I'm saying? And so they became so dominant. But the reality is that most of them didn't stay this and didn't stay and become this, like become a god, become earth the whole lifetime.
Yeah, because
only a small percentage.
Because I tell you, I keep it with you. Waterbed Cav. The legend Waterbed Cav lives on my block, and we built from time to time. And I told him that, yo, I'm 5%. I'll be going to school. I have a light and all that. He said, yeah, I used to do that when I was younger. I said, how do you stop doing that? How do you say you was doing that when you was younger? How are you not still that? How when I say peace to you, how do you peace? How do you?
Yeah. What did he say?
You say nothing because it was small.
Yeah.
So it seems to me he was doing it because it was the end thing.
How do you say that we're teaching this as a science, as a reality that you show and prove, and then all of a sudden you're not that
Right
there?
Because I seen Rock Miss Monster was on Talib Kweli podcast. And Talib Kweli,
I remember that.
Right?
Yeah.
You say, yo, you 5% of Decepticon. He said, yo, I'll be 5%. He said, I'm Decepticon. He said, but you never stop being God. How do you stop being God? How do you understand that you're God and you just no longer
See, he always knew and lives that he's God,
God? Right.
but he wasn't always a 5%. Because the 5% of me is teaching. A 5% of was putting himself out there with the sacrifice of teaching this. And see, I won't anybody say that there was a 5%er. I'll say somebody say you know that you was God this whole time and always saw that.
And
I
that's
give
all.
you that. Don't say that you was a 5% of this whole time, because, and I'm saying it's for me. I have sacrificed everything in my life to teach it every single day.
That's a fact. Actually.
You know what I'm saying?
Actual fact. Yeah.
And with the shutting of doors,
Mm-hmm.
all of those things that happens with that have happened to me.
Yeah, because the things that you've seen and been involved in, you could have been on a whole different plane, monetary wise,
You know?
all types of other things, but you remain
And
who you are.
Right, and I wouldn't keep quiet about that. I
Right.
never did. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not asking any young student I teach to be like that. I teach students to do what's in their heart to do. You know what I'm saying? But there wasn't a 5%. They wasn't willing to teach. Some people will excuse it because they're not willing to learn something while they learn all types of other shit. You know what I'm saying? All types of other shit. You know? But that's the way it's gonna be. That's the way it works. You know what I mean? I come here, God, whether I remember or I forget a degree, I'll be here. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
We live this shit. We live it here. We live it outside of the school. Some people need Parliament to get the battery. I almost never go to Parliament now. It had nothing to do with the gods. It's because I do so much shit that I want to write. I want to do this. I want to do that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I know I won't be able to do that for long, though, because as I get older in years, there's not going to be any elders there. So I have to be
Gotta be
one of the people that's there. You know? But that's why.
Right. I get it.
So it's a difference between having a knowledge of yourself and being a 5%er. You
Right.
know?
Right.
This is why a lot of brothers from Medina, they're like, no, we're not the nation of gods and nerds because the Father never said that thing. We're the 5% nation. I'm like, God, we're not defined. You know, our work is, we live out, we are defined by this work. But this nation, the birthright is not of our work, it's of who we are.
We are.
And nation comes from the Latin root nacer, which means birthright. That's how we're certain words, like the Spanish nació, means born. Our birthright is of who we are, not what we do, even though this is what we do. Just like it's a temporary blip. It's a temporary blip that we out here teaching. There's going to be a future where there's like, I can't believe that there was people that had to teach other people that they was a true living God, that they was the creators of their own reality. There was a time where people had to teach that they had to teach other people that they were creators of their own reality.
But you said that.
They're gonna be like, I can't even imagine a time like that.
Well, you told me.
And that's why, yo God, we was built for this time.
Right. You told me I brought myself here.
We was built for this.
You said you did this.
Who else could do this?
Right.
Who else could do this? If you wasn't built for this, then you would have been born in another era where you could do that shit. Where you could do the shit that was in, you would have born yourself in that era. Born yourself here though, you know what I'm saying? And we dominate. We dominate. The gods I know, Dumar, Wise, Jamel, nobody could have done it like them. Take somebody from the year 5,340, and they couldn't fuck with him. They couldn't fuck with the gods that were here. They wouldn't be able to do it. They said the air was too bad. They said the food was no good. Everything was too processed. The air sucks and then die immediately. But with the warrior era, we're the warriors of this era. And then now, unlike the glamorous 80s and 90s where you get battle scars and all that, and you could physically fight, this now is different now. The war is only for those that's really reckoning, really, really smart in the mental, right? Like that kill army shit, the silent weapon, right? Silent weapons for quiet wars. The other shit that we lived in the 80s and 90s, that was not the quiet war.
Not at all.
This is it. This is the quiet war.
Well, I had a saying that a lot of people get shocked when I say it. I say all battles are not physically fought.
What are we gonna do when they have smart cities and they say, listen, we'll give you 2 G's a month? I could really use that guy.
Right, 2 G's a month, right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
2 G's a month, you gotta put a chip in there. And we're gonna measure everything that you do, everything you purchase, everything that you
But
do.
you know that's about to happen.
We might, yeah, and we'll have the opportunity to tell you that you can't purchase this, you can't purchase that. We'll lock shit down.
Yeah,
But you're gonna get your 2 G's a month.
but you can't use it.
Wait, I can't get my 2 G. Can I do my 2 G's? I gotta be over here building. I gotta write whatever I want. I'm gonna say whatever I want to say. Right? We make songs, we make books. We're gonna say what we want to say. No, that ain't. And we're not. You're just gonna have to keep the 2 G's. One. And it'll be like another reality. That I had so much practice saying no to money, though, God.
Right.
And it's saying no to money as a sacrifice, because don't mean I got it.
Right.
That's what being a 5% is. Because you put yourself out there to teach this knowledge, and when you end up in forums where you could teach it, where it's not acceptable, where it's not welcome, where your presence, though, is a challenge. Right?
Well, your presence is a challenge.
Your presence is a challenge, though. This guy is challenging our conventions of all reality. We're just sitting here with that shit like that.
Meaning like your presence upsets people. You just being around. It causes a problem because you're just being around.
Yeah.
Yo, that happens to me now.
And see, this is why there's work to be done, God. There's work to be done because when the Father lived it out, he had mastered it. Where people didn't feel challenged by him, there was a warmth that he was giving off. Talk to any of the firstborn. That firstborn I talked to, they didn't hear no more. There was a certain warmth, God, that he gave.
Right.
And at moments when elders get out of their bitterness, which we all have, right? They'll be like, I don't know how he did it. Sometimes they'd be upset because they still haven't mastered it yet. They still hadn't mastered it in their life. How to always, he's saying he's Allah, man. Nobody was saying this shit. It's not like us, though. It's 5%. Maybe say that shit too. Oh, like Wu-Tang, like RZA, some shit like that. No, they never heard that shit before.
Right.
So remember like that, like that brother was we got pushback. That's the whole population.
But let me tell you something about that though. My way got pushback like that when the Wu was on Arsenio and I looked at it live. And they was performing on dirty screen.
He's yelling out, the black man is gone.
I started getting chills at my spine. I was in the early 90s, so I'm a little kid. And I'm like, well, not a little kid, I'm like maybe early teens. Yeah. And I'm like, what?
I never saw that show.
I saw that.
That particular episode, I didn't see that show.
Barefoot.
But I seen the clip years later on YouTube and shit. But I never saw the show until later.
I'm like, what?
That's crazy, yeah.
The black man is gone. I'm like, what is he talking about? But it gave me, it made my skin.
And it just like.
And they took his show off the air.
Just like Public Enemy had that mastery of Chuck D was serious and Flav was the jester.
Right.
It made things swallow, but Old D was even more intense. Because Old D's beat would say shit that was real thought-provoking.
Yeah.
And you didn't even know. You know what I'm saying?
I love Old D. I met him one time because I was doing, I was working for, in the Sonny Carson building over there across the street from Tilden. I was working over there for a construction dude, and he's like, "Yo, come out there, 'cause I need you to do security with some of the other," because they was guards, I was a guard. I used to do some security with the other guards. It was Old Dirty was coming out there to make a appearance. It poured down raining. Nobody came, but Dirty showed, and he still showed up. He came up in a BM. He had 2 Rockefeller chains on. That's when it was burgundy. It was like burgundy and gold. And he was mad peaceful. He was like, "Yo, nobody showed up. It's all good. I'm still here. Peace, God." I gave me a hug. And I was on the security. He was like, "You're so good, God. Yo, we'll see y'all later." And he was just mad peaceful. It was like it wasn't the gesture dirty. It was just he was regular. And I was like, "Yo, I didn't expect him to be that. He was just like regular." It was different when I was seeing him on TV all the time. So I had to get understand, like, yo, is this
these are characters and also a reality presentation. Yeah, man.
like I was
But these things, they were figuring this stuff out. And a lot of people at labels figured out ways to subtly insinuate and then outright to say too that saying this stuff was offensive. You know what I'm saying? Because we're saying who we are. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
We're saying who we are. It's not a lot of records. Just think about it. It's a lot of 5%ers, right? But how many records though, where you just see people yelling, "White man is a devil"? It's not that many.
I know.
In fact, if we had to take like the top records, we're not talking about bullshit records, great records, where people yelled that out.
Drop the bomb.
Right. But it still was very lyrical, very dense inside the lyric. But I'm saying like a chorus or like a chant. You saw someone with Brand Nubian, but really like Ice Cube, who wasn't
5%.
He wasn't 5% like us, but he was dealing with the NOI.
Right.
Right? And he was saying it blatant, but there wasn't that many, you know? Public Enemy's work was very NOI influenced. Chuck D was very NOI influenced, but he never got to that teaching. Never got to that teaching. In fact, there's a verse though where he says, I forget the verse. I think it's on the third album. What's the Fight the Power album? How much
Fight the Power, Fear of Black.
Fear of Black Land. There's a line where he says, "How can man be God?" Like he says it contradictory. Like, how can man be God? Like that's crazy. You know, on that album, yeah.
People question me like.
So he didn't see black man being God, and he said it there. You know, which is okay. That's how he saw it. That's what he believed. You know what I'm saying? He's still like monumental, but just this idea. See, they know that if we have a knowledge of ourselves, they know that the grand title of the reality, our role in our reality, they don't even come close to that, so they can't call it though. They would rather have us all reduce ourselves to looking up at a mystery.
Right.
To them, it's a fair playing field.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because one thing, they may deny or bear witness that we're true and living God, but they know more so that they are not. You know what I'm saying?
They know for a fact.
They know for a fact that they're not. So they'd rather think that, well, no one else can be either. You know? And, you know, this society is just delusional to them as it is us. You know? White folk may think that they really built something up here themselves. Like they think they made this shit up. They think they made all this stuff up. There's nothing that they made up.
It wasn't he.
They just organized where they wanted to go. They organized it. Most of the most important inventions they didn't even make. You know what I'm saying?
Stoplight.
Doorknobs, pen.
Right.
It's monumental. You ever seen that poster of African American inventions? This shit is huge. Right? It used to be here for years.
Wow.
You know, it got old, but
yeah.
it used to be here for years.
Wow. Wow.
You know.
Wow. I love to learn the knowledge.
King, you said that's why I kind of feel the way when some say they're not teaching older people. When some of those people have a way to reach other young people, every teacher ain't for every student. Yeah, this is why I don't reject anybody, and I especially don't make a criteria for rejecting people because that's a judgment about their life, though. You know, I expect different ways to work harder. You know, I text you back, God, and I'm very stern with you.
Yeah. Very.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I have high expectations, God.
I understand that. Definitely.
And you're not young, you know what I'm saying? So I'm not gonna I still am behind in emails, you know what I'm saying? And the young God, I have to give him an email. I'm gonna look out and I push further when I build with the young.
Right.
You know, like, yo, God, you good? Like, yo, here's this, you know, anytime I'll be reminding them of shit. You know?
You're 19.
It's not, yeah, it's
I mean, I was
different.
19. I had a kid.
You know?
Children.
Yeah. In this day and time, somebody to say I'm God and I need to get the knowledge of myself at 19 is so dope to me.
Right.
Like, I think it's amazing. You know, because we came from an era like I didn't even live the street life, and there was still an age where I was like, I have to go into those streets and get what I need to get. I have to learn what I need to get. I have to find it myself. You know what I'm saying? I was more mature and I had better guidance though. So I knew that what I wanted to get, even if my parents disagreed, I could go with it and get it in a positive, intelligent way.
Right.
But I still had to go to the street. I want to learn more about music and the artists and be that real historian. You know, learn about revolution and the revolutionary reality of Puerto Rico and my people, this and that. I went out and got the history myself. I didn't get that in books.
Right.
The elders I was learning about was throwing me to the books. You know what I mean?
The elders you were learning about.
Right. The elders I was learning from were tossing me the books to learn from. You know? It wasn't always like, you know? And of course I got lucky because the professor in my school became my mentor and he was a revolutionary himself. I got lucky. You know what I'm saying? To this day, I still build with him. You know? Still.
Yo, so you never actually recorded in the studio?
No, never.
Oh, you would assume.
Yeah, never recorded studio.
Wow, you would assume. Do you think that you would be able to
Write a verse on the spot? I don't know.
No, not that.
But I
think
could
that you would be able to have the headphones on in the booth and
hopefully,
record.
you know what I mean? Hopefully I don't have to do 1,000 takes.
Right.
Yeah.
You want to get it right.
Yeah.
You wanna get it right.
You know?
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean,
I was talking to God King, you know, when I got knowledge of self, I realized, getting this knowledge, I realized my gifts as a teacher, because I was thrust to teach it.
right.
I was put in here. And I realized I was always good in the forum. I was great at lectures, halls, all that, right? Lots of people. Never worried about that. But performing for people has always been a thing I'm not so keen on. Never liked it. You know what I'm saying? I never liked it.
I was supposed to have the situation
You know?
back, and I was like, nah, I got this class.
Always been different. Peace, God.
Peace
to God.
Just was talking about you.
That's right, God. I owe you an email, but I've been on vacation with my little one, so that's why I haven't thrown any emails out to them. You know what I mean? But it's great seeing you, God. I want to throw this out at you, God, because you're 19, God. Knowledge born. You know what I mean? And the way that the world is different from when we got knowledge, when I got knowledge, when the firstborn got knowledge. You know what I mean? Everything that you needed, you had to go out and get. You know what I'm saying? It's not even like that now. the things that you really need in prize and stuff. The black books, the books that had all the knowledge though, the Diop books, the Sertima books, all of those. I had to get those from the guards that was selling them on the corner. You know what I mean? The black books. Now you find black books, it's just stupid ass novels and shit. You know what I mean? And romance novels. Which, by the way, I read everything. So I've read some romance novels too and shit like that. You know, it's good for virility. It's like a cartoon and shit. You know? But it's not the shit that the real jewels. You know what I mean? And the youth aren't just out in the street all the time. You know what I'm saying? That's why, like, the path that led you to get knowledge yourself is very crucial. What were the conditions? You know what I'm saying? Where were you though? What was your lifestyle like when you was getting it? What sparked you to go here? And when did you say, I'm gonna go out and get this? See, that's, you know, when they go back like in time travel movies and they ruin the guy's reality and they find that crucial point, so we get him right here, this whole shit ends.
Right.
You know, that's the whole Terminator shit,
Mm-hmm.
right? We get him as a baby. No, they couldn't do it, right? So then they get him, let's get him right when he's a teen, though. Come back and get him right before he's about to spark. Problem is, though, is that every time they do it, their presence keeps sparking him more.
Right.
Right? That's what's crazy about that movie, right? But you have to know the points in life, God, when you became that go-getter. Because you have to look back almost sometimes immediately. I have to be like this. You're still developing the nature of yourself. You see what I'm saying? Right? So when you go, I am, right? What's your righteous name, God?
Why Supreme?
Why Supreme, right? Then you go, I am.
Why Supreme?
Why Supreme? Why am I? Why Supreme? You see what I'm saying? What's the nature that will make you continuously wise? What's the nature that will make that supreme? You see? So you have to figure, like, what are the things that led you to this point? You're 19 now, and it's like your vivid memory now. But I tell you to write it down because when you're 22, 23, right? These are years of development that are so fast. You know what I'm saying? So much changes in those short amount of years. You know what I mean? That you'll say, I am almost forgetting the nature of how I was when I first started this. You know what I mean? It's important. When you see me here teaching, and I can recall these things because I wrote everything down. You know what I mean? My life is one of my plus lessons.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember it.
Wow.
You see? Even my life today, God, I suffer and I am blessed for the history I wrote years ago. You see? I never wrote a history where I would say I'm going to be rich, I'm going to be popular, all of that. That's literally not what I wrote. I said I was going to be a writer and be as incredible as I could be. I said I would write things that would be worthwhile when I am no longer alive. This is shit that I wrote. Me and Day-Son used to talk like this.
Wow. Really?
We used to talk about this. He's like, oh, we need to be the type of writer, you know, like, you need to read my shit when I'm gone. It's how me and Day-Son used to talk. You know what I'm saying?
He's still right.
This is how we write,
He's still right.
you know? Yeah. We can't not write. We can't not write. It doesn't work. You know? I love reading though, and I can't even, a lot of times I lose concentration reading because of what I want to say. You know? So I don't get mad anymore about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't get mad anymore about it. But when I was around your age, when I got knowledge, I could read extensively because I know shit. I can have understanding about things like that. You know what I mean? So you find out why you're the true and living God, this unique way that never will be. what I like to call the impossible possibility. The God that is wise supreme right here was always impossible. Always God, always impossible. I had never seen one in this room or ever in existence. And yet you made it a possibility. So everyone's reality is an impossible possibility. And I say it like that in a very quantum mechanical way because it's still you that has to continue to make it a possibility. You yourself could vanish out of fucking thin air too and fall off the planet. You know what I mean? So now you have to build that way. What is Vice Supreme? What is worthwhile about Vice Supreme? And if he doesn't have it though, then what does he have to continuously learn to build up? Now you're putting in things to make something, to make you. And now that's why I spent so much time saying, what do we knowledge? I have the plus lesson. I gotta email it to you. The build awareness square. What do we eat? How do we train? What do we read? Knowledge. What do we write? What do we write, say, express ourselves? How do we share? All of those things. How do you do those things? How do you gauge them? How do we knowledge the world? What are we knowledging of the world? So I have the curriculum, right? I tell you to write a journal so you can look at these things. You know what I'm saying? You can look back on the day's mathematics that you built on and say, I don't see it like that no more. That shit was not complete. That shit was sloppy. You know what I mean? The first assignment, King Kamal saw it, the first assignment that I ever did, knowledge, he told me to show and prove the knowledge degree in the 1 to 10. Who was the original man? The original man is the Asiatic black man, the maker, the owner, the cream of the planet Earth, father of civilization, God of the universe. I'm here just a fucking couple of weeks. I gotta do this? I'm like, I don't know enough though. I didn't learn enough. Do it anyway. I still have that paper. Kept it. It's constitutional now. It's a little yellow and shit. You know? It's constitutional.
I still got my essay that I wrote.
Hey, guy, I need you to keep them.
I got
Just
it.
keep them. You know, let them get constitutional. You know? I'm gonna write it down and everything. I look at it now, I cringe though. You know what I'm saying? Say I wrote like that. You know, that's all I had. You know, but it was a lot then. It was precocious. It was developed. You know what I'm saying? But you got to develop that. You're developing. Like, who are you going to be? Everything that everybody said about you now that you are Wise Supreme is all bullshit. Everything is all a stereotype of you. Everything's a cliche. Oh, Wise Supreme, he likes to come late to things, you know? Oh, he lazy. He like to sleep. He like to be lazy on Saturday and shit like that. I don't know what it is. Everything that they think of you, your family, everything is wrong. Everything has the chance to be wrong. When I got into college and I met my professor that became my mentor, right? Dr. David Travelso, the only Puerto Rican I ever met that had a PhD. I also learned later that he had 7 master's degrees. I know that for a fact because when he goes out throughout the world teaching and stuff like that, I hold the lockbox for him with all of his degrees and everything. We had that rapport and that love, and that became our friendship, right? That radicalized me and made me realize I don't know shit, and that what everybody thought of me don't mean shit because I didn't even develop though. They didn't even tell me where the fuck I'm from. So how the hell are you gonna tell me I'm this person? There's a Boricua named Seti. He opened the store. I saw him a couple of years ago, so I got to thank him. Before he moved it to Harlem, he opened it in Sunset Park, where I'm from, down the block where I live, on the corner of 48. Right? And I was telling everybody, yo, we gotta go. It's like Puerto Rican history, and I'm just learning. And I'm just learning. I just started. I go in there, and I see all these things, and I see things for Pedro Abizu Campos. I don't know who he was. It's a great revolutionary, led the Nationalist Party. Out of the Nationalist Party is where you get Lolita Lebron, the sister, the only person to shoot up Congress inside the building. It's a Puerto Rican woman. Went in there, guns blazing, boom, boom, boom. Give us freedom. They pardoned her like around the late 90s, if I remember correctly, or even the 2000s.
She caught a couple bodies in it.
Nah, she didn't get caught, but she went in there blazing them. Other people got killed in that whole thing, right? But that was under the Nationalist Party, that Pedro Albizu Campos. If you ever heard his speeches and see them translated, he was, imagine Malcolm X even more angry. That was Pedro Albizu Campos. They captured him and they kept him prisoner and they tested radiation on him and his body withered away. Yeah. But I didn't know who that was though. So here we are, Puerto Rican, not told that we're black, that we don't go through things, we have it better than that, right? All that kind of shit. And then I'm like in there, I'm thinking I'm just a stupid, rebellious kid because of hip hop, right? I go in there, I see people talking about Pedro Albizu Campos, though, and I see a young brother saying, "That's beautiful, Pedro. What he did, his Boricua brother, and he going, what he did for our people, though, was a grown man." And he starts crying, though. Starts crying like what Pedro Albizu did for our people. And he starts crying. I said, I gotta learn about this man, though. This man is crying about him. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I said, that's crazy. How I don't know about a man that did so much and he's crying about him and shit. It's just fucked up. Because we all, especially the generation that me and the guy come from, the majority of us, though, are children of the 85 that did not become activists, that did not fight for the rights, the little that we have.
Mm-hmm.
They were around. You know what I'm saying? They was around. But
my mother was not.
The professor I had, he actually, when he went to Colgate University, he actually helped shut down Colgate University and boycott unless they got a Black and Puerto Rican Studies department.
My mother was not going to do
that. Right? Right. And no, listen, her parents, they had to go. My mother, when she came in, she didn't even know English and they weren't allowed to speak Spanish or even write in Spanish. And she had to go through high school with no English knowledge, had to learn it on the way.
On the fly.
So, yeah. So, and she ended up getting a degree. That's how much she learned. So, I'm not saying that they had to be activist revolutionaries. They had their own problems, right? They were in the oppression. A lot of times, the people that are in the oppression deepest are not the activists. When you study the Young Lords, the Boricuas that fought for Puerto Rican rights that were in Harlem, Felipe Luciano, became a legendary journalist, right? Why am I forgetting his name? I'm thinking of. I gotta get his name right. I can't do it justice. I'm thinking of some other one, and I'm like, no, that's the kid I used to play football with. That's not the one I'm thinking of. Hold on. I remember the book he wrote. Okay, news. It's crazy. It's funny that I'm thinking of that guy. The Juan Gonzalez. Though. You know what's funny? I didn't think of Juan Gonzalez because I saw it. It's funny how that name didn't come up because Juan Gonzalez is also the name of a great baseball player, but also was in the steroid era, 90s. And I just saw a documentary about the guy that was from Balco that was giving bonds and all those guys. So I guess my mind eliminated Juan Gonzalez because that's not. But Juan Gonzalez, Felipe Luciano, Geraldo Rivera. You've heard of Geraldo Rivera, right? Piece of shit, right wing now, right? But he wasn't back then. That's the case study. See how people saw it. All of these guys were intellectuals. Juan Gonzalez went to Harvard. One of the great journalists, though. People always ask, like, what hip-hop journalist you study? I didn't study him. I was studying him. He was the one that was doing the great journalism. Right? They were able to step out of the plight a little bit and look from it from the bird's eye view. But the people that are real deep in the oppression, they're not the ones that become the revolutionaries. Che Guevara, a little bit better off, not dirt poor, So he's able to go on that trip throughout all of Latin America and see the real business. And that's what got him revolutionary. Yeah. Have you ever heard the book, The Motorcycle Diaries? They made a movie of it too. It's good to watch too. It's a good movie. Che Guevara took a trip throughout Latin America and saw the plight of all the indigenous throughout all the places he went and realized this isn't just one country. This is the whole fucking, like all of us. You know what I mean? These are the things that radicalized him. You know what I mean? Fidel Castro, his father was a more well-off farmer and owned a lot of land and had workers and stuff and was a 10% to those workers. So he grew up saying, oh, look at this devilish man. I don't agree with this shit. You know what I'm saying? So when you have the benefit of looking beyond the poverty you're in, you also have the advantage and the duty to go build. To be able to come here, God, and get this knowledge of self means that you took yourself out of a certain place to look down on everything from a different angle. You see what I'm saying? This is something to think about. It's where the revolutionaries learn. It's the form that, it's the breeding ground of the revolutionary. Puerto Rican revolution, since I'm on my Puerto Rico shit, one of the biggest massacres of the people when the U.S. took over was called the P.E.A.C.E massacre. I'm from Ponce. That's where my family's from. That's where all the legends, Hector Lavoe, Cheo Feliciano, Eddie Palmieri, legends come from there. You know what I'm saying? So, making music, I get to be in the line of legends. Ponce, you know? All of that is dope. Just like it's dope to be in that lineage of Brooklyn, you know what I mean? But the Ponce massacre was actually was a college, the university. And they were holding the flag. They had just outlawed the Puerto Rican flag. And they shot up the whole area. And they killed many students. That became the Ponce massacre. You know what I mean? It's the young that they fight. The young that they stop. You see what I'm saying? You, God, by Supreme, you are the problem for them because you're the solution for us.
Mm-hmm.
You said the Ponce massacre?
The Ponce, P.O.N.C.E. Ponce massacre, yeah. Ponce. Ponce has a very different, it's one of the areas where it's very African, but then also got mixed with a lot of Sicilian and Southern Italians because they tried to whiten the population. So you get people like Palmieri, that's an Italian name. My professor, my mentor, Traverso, that's all Italian. You know what I mean? It's all that mix, you know? That's what they try to do with the islands, you know? Okay. When the trolls, they try to tell me, oh, look, your Puerto Ricans are too light. You know what I'm saying? I might be light, but we can fight. You know what I'm saying? Right? We got all of this. We got all of this. You know what I mean? And that shit is everywhere. The lightning, the passing, right? To this day, African Americans here in this country still pass for white when they get light skin enough. It still happens though. You know what I mean? Get light enough like me and their name is not Latino or something like that.
Like Charlie Sheen.
Shade, make my presence look better. You know?
Charlie Sheen's whole ancestry is black.
Yeah. Estevez. You know? Only one of them kept the name. Right? And nobody knew that. Nobody saw Apocalypse Now and said, wow, that's that. Right? And we didn't think that. Right? Nobody thought that. They had to learn that shit later. You know? It's funny, the people that embrace it though, they don't get enough credit. You know? Right? People like Linda Ronstadt and stuff. Her father's German, great-grandfather. But then he lived in Mexico, and then he married Mexican women and stuff like that.
And that's how she came.
And that eventually how she came. You know what I mean? People are
He's Puerto Rican.
Oh, that's it.
Yeah, his father name is who's his father? Charlie Sheen. His father.
No, Charlie Sheen is the father, the oldest one.
No, Charlie Sheen and Charlie Sheen is the son of
Martin Sheen.
Martin Sheen.
Martin Sheen. Yeah,
But right, only one kept the name, and that was Emilio Estevez.
yeah.
Martin
He was the youngest one.
Right.
Yeah.
Martin is really
But they
Martin.
already had success, so
Right.
he didn't have
He
to.
didn't have to, right?
He could go on his own.
Right. But he never blew up like the father.
Right.
Oh, it's the dude from Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they all had careers, though.
They all had.
Obviously, Martin had the most impactful.
Right. And okay, Martin had the most impactful, but Charlie had the most bright. Like he was good.
Yeah. Well, he's pop. Yeah, he's
Right.
popular. Yeah.
Right.
But you know, like what I'm saying, like with the actual quality movies and shit that you're gonna think back on. But yeah. See, the thing is, God, like to be knowing who you are, you're the true and living God. But then to be a 5%er means the ability to go out there and teach. And people be thinking like you just go out the corner, you just start teaching somebody that comes up. It's about making relationships. It's about making things, creating things, making forms for people. You know what I mean? These are stuff that you have to figure out. You know? And it's just little steps. Being able to share something when someone needs something. You know what I'm saying? Not necessarily like, who am I going to teach this knowledge to? Who am I going to teach this? No. It's showing and proving your own righteous principles. You see what I'm saying? So that when everybody sees you, they say, there's something special about this man here. You know what I mean? It'll be things, your work ethic, how you work, what you build. You know what I'm saying? The cliche when I was a kid was like, oh, he don't like to read and shit. That's the cliche.
But you don't like to
Yeah,
read?
I don't like to read. They don't say that anymore.
You make books for people to
They
read.
don't say that anymore. You know what I mean? Right?
You can't say that.
It's always something, but they don't say that no more.
You can't say that.
You know? You know? Your family will always have certain things that they'll say is stereotypes of you, you know? Categorizations of you, you know? People in general will, you know? Right? Did you have any questions, guy? It's always important to develop questions and you know, collect your bills. Every day you should be writing something or having something that you could say, like, let's say tomorrow, maybe you don't see any 5%ers no, but you should be ready. Like, here's my build on today's math. Every day, God, be ready. Be ready. And have two of them. The one that you have to be ready as you walk out the door, and then the one that you contemplate and see, how did this day go, and how does it go with how I see today's math? You see what I'm saying? Two, one at the top, one at the end. At the corners, always at the corners, every day. Right? You use your journals to write how you see the day's math or builds, but also your questions. What don't you get? You want to be able to put the things that you don't know into questions. And actually you have to go into a search to figure out, what is it that I don't know? You know what I'm saying? What is it I don't know? You know? These are things to question.
How do you show and prove that the black man is God to someone who is stuck in belief?
It depends on what angles. The only way you could build with anybody is by knowing more about them. You know what I'm saying? The first way to do it is this. There's been nothing to show and prove that if we believe in things enough, that it'll happen the right way for us. And that is something that is undeserved anyway, because almost every single hour, babies die of hunger. Just that simple fact. You're telling me that you're more worthwhile because you prayed to Jesus that you never saw before, or any mystery, that you're better than any of these babies out there? I say it like that, people are like, no, it's And then now you'll find out quick. If you're dealing with older people who deal with Christianity, they'll tell you, well, those babies aren't blessed by Jesus, though. And now you can tell them, fuck yourself. You know what I'm saying? Because whatever I had that you could use, you don't deserve that shit. And I've heard that from Christians. That's why I say that. You know what I'm saying? Think not that the justifications Christians use to kill us are the same justifications that we use to believe it. To believe it. They needed to die because they didn't give themselves to Jesus. So you're saying that somebody made a whole world. They're all innocent. Just like you say that you are, because you, right? It's up to God. But those children didn't bear witness fast enough, so they deserve the hellfire. You know what I'm saying? And then if they're not of the religion, no, they deserve the hellfire. And I'm thinking the other idea. I'm thinking that your Jesus doesn't have good reach. Doesn't have good reach. There's kids out there not bearing witness to you. That Jesus don't have good reach. You know? If some other entity or being created this entire universe,
you need your help with something. Oh, you got it.
And all of a sudden it needs the people in the universe that he created to bear witness to him, then something's wrong with it. See, if an entity outside made all this shit, he don't need you anyway to fucking bear witness to him, right?
I was building with my brother the other day, and I kept asking him, like, every time that they describe God, they give him a feature of man. I'm saying, whether it's he's all good or all loving.
Right.
Or
but here's the
he's
twist
jealous.
with that.
I'm saying,
when you deal with Muslims or you deal with Buddhists, they have a flip on their religiosity. Because even Buddhism, which wasn't supposed to be, gets religious. And they'll say science is just really good explanations for what you don't know. That's such a clever way of saying it, right? Which is complete bullshit, right? But it gets by. And when you deal with Orthodox Muslims, because there's been many that has walked in here thinking that this is some, Islam center. To them, the descriptions as Allah, as a man, or anything like that, is because our brain is too simple to not anthropomorphize things. When you describe things as a man, that's anthropomorphizing. You know what I mean? And that's all we're doing. It's the same thing like when we make Mickey Mouse. He's not really a mouse, but he's moving like a man. He's a mouse. It's the same shit. We're just expressing ourselves. We can only express ourselves, so we even express God as a man. That's what they say. So then now here's the problem with all of that. It makes all of that bullshit, right? Is that everything that they're saying does exist has no existence. So the existence of nothing has no existence. When you say he's bigger than this or he's beyond that, well, there is no existence of that. And you cannot prove something that does not exist. The only shit that exists here is me, and every last drop of what I do is caused by me and has only been affected by the realities of other individuals, right? Other persons, other places, other ciphers, other animals, nothing else, nothing outside. You see? So I choose at the lowest level that you can accept this, I choose to have a spirituality where I see myself as the center of my reality and thus most responsible for everything. And I waste no time searching, asking, praying for any help with that. You know what I mean?
You can only help yourself.
But the framework that people have, it's the framework that people have. If God has to be a super being and break the own laws that I made, you know what I'm saying? Why would we go through walls? He made this planet so we could build things.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I don't want to go through walls because someone else could go through the wall. You know what I'm saying? And the things that I don't want you to see, there were things that you do I don't want to see. You know what I'm saying?
That's true.
That's a fact.
And so we all do what we do. You know what I mean?
Why put something there if there's no purpose?
Right.
Like if anyone can just walk through the walls, and what's the point of having the wall?
Right.
Right.
It's almost like for them, God is someone that could make everything irrelevant and make their reality relevant. Make their powerlessness relevant by making everything useless and powerless. You know?
Like some goofy character.
Yeah. But that's the power of religion. You know what I'm saying? And it's crazy that after all these years, people still believe that there's somebody out there that does the rest of the work. Yeah, think about that. There's somebody out there that does the rest of the work. I did the best I can. It's in God's hands, you know? We won this though, and it was in God's hands or shit like that. And the thing that we don't have to be all upset is that the reality of all life is interacting mathematical equations. So it's okay that there's always going to be mystery. Things that you don't know because there's mathematical equations you don't know. That's why when you have a knowledge of self, you have so much mastery of the equations that you create that now you can see the contrast of everything else. See? It's like martial arts. I can't fight everybody. That would be ridiculous. All I can know is that when the time comes to fight, I'm comfortable that I could do everything possible I could do. You know what I'm saying? That's all I could be. That when the time comes, I could do everything that I know. You know? And shit. So far it's been good enough. I'm still here. You know what I'm saying? But that's all you could do. Right? And as you do this though, you start to realize the more you know of yourself, the more power you have in the cipher. See? Because once you have control of the way your reality is and how you affect reality, there's a tendency. This is what they talk about though in all the mind books, right? The Swamis used to talk about, yogis used to talk about it. The more that you know about yourself, the more you can affect the realities around you. See? Because as the mastery of yourself happens, then how you affect the cipher becomes more of your mastery and not under your discretion as well. You see? They happen in little things. Ciphers where everybody's angry, but it doesn't touch you. You see what I'm saying? Cipher where everybody's emotional, and yet you still have your resolve. You know what I'm saying? And this is reality among people. You know what I'm saying? You put me, guys got the Yankee hat, you put me in Yankee Stadium and I'm the only Met fan now, I still will hate all the Yankees.
Right.
I'm still gonna be a Met fan. It's kind of like that in the world. You know what I'm saying? The Yankees could pull off a thrilling event. In fact, I went to a Yankee game. The last Yankee game I went to, obviously wasn't rooting for the Yankees. Fucking Yankees won it at the last at bat. They won it in the ninth. I had to go to a Yankee game where they win it thrillingly. You know what I'm saying?
I know Yankees thing going crazy.
Everybody's hype. I could feel the energy. I was thinking about it. I could feel the energy of exuberance, of happiness, though, right? Nah, man. I'm still bitter. I'm more bitter than ever. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I will control my reality. You know? People go to church and they feel the Holy Spirit. Everybody's believing the same shit. They're all excited. They're all like, this is the answer. We're all going to be on this trip. You know what I mean? Just like you go to a concert and shit like that, you feel the music though. You already was a fan though, and now you're even getting more immersed in it, right? It's the energies that's being created though. Why do you think performers get such a rush? You know what I'm saying?
That's just all from people coming together.
It's people's energy, yeah. You know? What did the Father say? If you want to see this, you come together. You know? Because sometimes we forget about that energy having to be alone. You know what I'm saying? Having to be God by ourselves everywhere. You know what I'm saying? But it's real. So you have to notice that. You have to notice how that gets manipulated. You know? It gets manipulated everything though. The herd mentality. You know what I'm saying? People don't really, you know, people can't be liking that bullshit song again. That bullshit song again. No, but if you play it everywhere, again and again, Let people have experiences with it. Some of them, there's bullshit songs that I hate that people have incredible memories with. They'll never be convinced how much of a bullshit song that they like. They have such a great memory with it. You know what I mean? Right? Remember how when I lived in P.E.A.C.E, God, and that fucking Hot in Here was out. Fucking Nelly shit. I hate that song. And I used to have to go to sleep at night with parties across the street playing that shit like 2 or 3, 4, 5 times in a row. You know what I'm saying? I was disgusted. Go to sleep disgusted. You know what I'm saying? A fucking jingle for grown-ups. You know what I'm saying? And but those people that were at the party, right?
Lovely.
They'll look back on that with fond memories and shit. You know? The devil knows all of these tactics, though. The mind attachment, all that. Listen, when I got down to self, I was here every day. Right? And I always loved soul music and all that, right? But when you play any of the soul brother bands like Delphonics, Main Ingredient, Manhattan, shit like that shit always takes me back to getting the knowledge. You know what I'm saying? Because that's what the guys were playing. They were playing that all the time.
Wow.
You know? And I'd be saying, oh shit. You know, because we know our samples and shit. You know, and then we dug in the crates and, you know, I collected already. I'd be like, oh shit, that's the, you know, that's the main ingredient right there. He's like, what you know about that, God? What you know about that? You know? I did it the other day. I'd be doing it. Old brother was holding his phone up and playing the whispers and shit. And he played whispers and then he played another one. And I was like, oh, so whispers is born, huh? What you know about that? You know?
That's
Shit.
the era.
Yeah, you know? I might do it with somebody playing Big Pun. So,
What
what
you know about that?
you know about the Big Pun?
But
You know
I
what I
wish
mean?
it would be a blessing to see that.
Oh, yeah. There was the other day, I was out there and I saw some young kids and they was blasting the Wu-Tang. You know, I had a tear of joy. Just,
Right.
I stopped my daughter. I said, listen, this man out there playing Wu-Tang, young kid. It's beautiful. I said, hopefully you're playing good music when you get older too. I'm going to see you about that. Then we just get moving, you know? But that shit is real, like the memories and stuff, you know what I mean?
Certain things impact people. And,
Yeah.
you know, like,
Why do you think religion was given to us an institution? Why do you think Elijah made an institution? Look at Elijah packed Islam in the same package as Christianity. Even Fard though, because you know Fard bad light skin, so he looked Jesus-y. You know what I mean? He looked Jesus-like, right? He's light skinned enough where like, oh, this feels that way. You know what I'm saying? Because we got a program in the head. You know what I'm saying? Right? The institution, the camaraderie. You come to the temple, but you're with the people. All this stuff. Right? They make commune. You know, and a lot of religion was to continue the social mores, good or bad, of the people. You know what I'm saying? Right? The way that you behave and stuff, you know? Community. All of these things. You have to be in the church, though. Right? Got the clan, you got all these things. You need unification. Right? And what better way to unify without the threat that other ways of uniting would? You know what I'm saying? Where in the history of America, right? Where were black people allowed to congregate in mass, though, unless they were doing work? That whole shit that's never been a thing where they let us be in a corner.
Right.
Stop and Frisk was just amplified with that, but they never let us be on corners like that and build. But you could be in church, though, and have mad ciphers, right? The church cipher could be huge outside the church. Nobody stops that shit. Nobody goes, yeah, move it along, you know.
Yeah.
That never happens. You know what I'm saying? People, look what the Father was doing. He'd have big ciphers where nobody knows what he's talking about because he's not having a bullhorn. He didn't teach like that. He teach with a bullhorn. That's why I say power refinement. The refinement, the focus, the target. You know what I mean? The power was focused. Those ciphers were what? Huddled around. Nobody was building like that. So hold the cipher, God. Go around the cipher. We protect what we're sharing. and then everybody can add on. And he also, pedagogically, the lecture point is this way. The cipher gives the opportunity where everybody eventually is going to be called upon to step in and build. Eventually, everyone will have to be strong enough to come in and build. Do I see today's, you know what I mean? So the cipher isn't just, you know what I'm saying? It's just some shit, like it's a whole pedagogical change. I tell you, the father is the greatest fucking scholar, you know, I've ever studied. You know? Because he did it though. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy.
Somebody gonna be brave enough to make a movie.
Fuck it up.
As long as we keep teaching, God.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? As long as we keep teaching with that mentality. God, it's about learning so much of yourself that you know what you want to try, what you want to do, and try it. That even if you fluctuate and go to this and go to that, though, that you're like, yo, this is me. I'm going to do it with everything I got. And you're going to exude your nature. Those people that will come to learn, you're going to draw it up. I mean, not worried. Just be everywhere that you should be. And take notice of everyone that is everywhere you go. You know what I'm saying? And when you have the chance to build, you build. You know what I mean? When you have the chance to build, you build. You know? This stuff is amazing. Amazing. Let's see what's saying stuff. Malik is the knowledge, is the Bowen degree, and the 1 to 14 dealing with Masons or Freemasonry. It's definitely dealing with the sword above the head. So yes, it is loosely built with that. Yeah, definitely. It is linked to that. Are the currents and layers in the build degree in the 1 to 40 stratosphere and troposphere? If I remember correctly, it's not all of them though, because weather doesn't involve every single layer of the Earth's atmosphere. You know what I mean? But I don't know which ones. I gotta check that again. Asor, peace. You said was wondering your thoughts on Tariq Nasheed new hip hop documentary. You know, I was asked this. Was that you or someone else? So a piece of shit 10%er is making a documentary. What would I think about it? Right? You know what I mean? What do I think about it? You know what I mean? Like, he spent time saying that Boricuas had nothing to do with hip hop. And people like Crazy Legs came up with so much proof that the documentation of hip hop alone.
He was there.
Not just people participating, but the documentation, whether it's Joe Conzo with the photography. There was another Boricua that was one of the great documenters of the tapes, the early tapes. I forgot his name. Damn. And so many others. Tariq doesn't even know how culture is developed. He doesn't know shit about music. Doesn't know shit about the arts. He's not even from here.
He's not from here.
You know what I'm saying? People be like this though. They gave hip hop a birthday, right? I'm gonna say this real quick. They gave hip hop a birthday. They said 1973. That's because the flyer, when we recognized that Kirk started to do shit.
Peace, God.
Peace, God. Right?
Peace.
They recognized that's when like he really started, and because, and I'm okay with it.
So you're saying they made that flyer
Right.
that day,
That flyer, August 11, 1973.
What was going on before that?
That's the birthday of hip hop, but that's not that's not the start. That's not the genesis. That's not the middle of it,
No.
right? But it's a respectable point because Kool Herc is the one that popularized. I don't just argue whether he made the breakbeat, because for him, he created the breakbeat himself, but others argue that they were looping things again, which makes sense because DJs were always on it and shit. But to overtly loop it again and again and again, got to give Kool Herc that credit.
Right.
But it's because of the breakbeat finally becoming popular that the choices of what to play, who decides what to play? It's not the DJ, it's the dancers, right? So the B-boys, the DJ. Then you get the MC, right? And the graffitis are right around there. The reason that hip hop is so crucial because of him is because all of these different elements that were happening before, after, during are now merging at that spot. They eventually merge because of that, because of what he's doing. But all of these things are taking place. Yo, Medina has many people that were popping and doing other shit way before. You know what I'm saying? Salsa dancers were doing leg work that looked like breaking. Salsa dancers. And I don't say no capoeira shit because a lot of brothers never saw that shit. Black, brown, nobody. But they did see salsa because we was dancing that shit everywhere. So they saw that shit. Hustle dancers. Like when they go, B-boys, Puerto Ricans had nothing to do with it because they wasn't there at the first parties. Say we go back there and find no Puerto Rican. I'm saying, man, no Puerto Ricans. This is what Tariq Nasheed is saying. See no Puerto Ricans at those first parties, right?
He wasn't even in New York.
Right, he wasn't even there. It doesn't matter. But he gets people to say that there were no Puerto Ricans there, that they were there. They said they were there and Puerto Ricans wasn't there, right? Whatever was done at that first party, that Cool Herc Rock, was not B-boying. Whatever you would have seen at that party would have been what everybody was doing already, which is what? A lot of hustle, right? Disco dancing, the hustle, shit like that, which has a lot of up-rocking. That's where the up-rocking roots are. And a lot of salsa shit. People forget, like, they hear Mark Anthony, they think salsa is like, romance, and we have like a... Salsa in the 70s was not like that. It had jazz in it, and it had a lot of measures that were very, very fast. And the earlier versions before salsa, which is the son and all of that, that had versions that were fast. Like you had to be a really, really skilled dancer. You know what I'm saying? Real skilled. You know? And all of those things were informing all of the dancers, whether indirectly or directly. So that means that what I'm saying is that all these things take time to develop. You know what I'm saying? They take time to develop. I saw people that were there say shit that shows they don't even understand culture and how it develops even as they were there. Because people that make stuff don't know, haven't studied it. I saw one, I remember the Nigger Twins. That's what they were called, the Nigger Twins. They were black seeds, like you, God. And they were like, these Puerto Ricans, they wasn't in the shit. They're the ones that came a little later and they started to do it a down rock. And I'm like, fucking dumb. You just said, that means that what you say is breaking didn't develop yet. If someone else came while you were there and they came and did the down rocking, then that means that they invented a crucial part of the element you said you made. You know what I'm saying? Because if you talk to people that talk about break, what's breaking? It'd be the up rocking, down rocking, freezing, and something else, right? Those things took time to develop. They wasn't developed in one party, 2 parties, 3 parties. Shit took years. You know what I'm saying? Tariq Nasheed, he spent all years and years, the last couple of years on Facebook talking about FBA, and we're gonna, please God, we're gonna listen to him about a actual culture, a set of cultural musical expressions that were developed by diaspora when he spends his time insulting the diaspora, disregarding the diaspora. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You know that you can't take away the diaspora of black and brown in really any music. You can't even take it away with jazz. There were early jazz musicians in the 1910s, God, that said if you don't have the Latin element in the music, it's not jazz. It's not what I said. That's what they said. You know what I mean? Because we had polyrhythms, God.
I know my mother listened to all types
We
of
were working with polyrhythms.
soca, calypso.
All of this music that we're talking about is hybrids of many things. You know, when you go into the Caribbean and you listen like, oh, salsa, this and that, it's a hybrid of many things. There are many European elements though in a lot of Latin music. You know what I'm saying? You listen to old merengue, they use accordions. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
You listen to very, very older forms of Puerto Rican music that you think is very African because of the drumming, and you see waltzes merged into it.
Right.
It's taking everything. Before people sampled, they sampled different styles. Before they sampled songs, they sampled styles. There's no crates. There's not nothing recorded like that. But before that, they sampled styles. They said, we'll do a little of that, a little of this. You know? Why the hell would I trust something that he makes, though? You know?
What you do?
Yeah.
He makes.
And they'll get anybody. Let me tell you something, though. And people don't know shit about no journalism. Journalism is the art of interviewing people, knowing their shortcomings in explaining and expressing themselves. Let me say that again. Journalism includes the art of interviewing people to get facts out of them, right? From people that don't necessarily can express themselves or what they have lived very well. Most people that you see great interviews from all these guys, like they go on Drink Champs and they give great interviews and shit. These same guys gave shitty interviews when they were doing this shit. Nas, Pete Rock, all these, they were horrible interviews years ago. They didn't know, they were just doing it. I said, how'd you do that? I said, oh no, Nas. Look up any old Nas interview. It's a mess. It's just a blunted mess. It's not good, People talking like, oh, look, these things, they have retrospect. They were able to have many years of looking back on things and articulate. You know what I'm saying? But how do you get it now? They'll easily, Tariq is a 10%er. He'll easily do these interviews and get out the information that makes it look good, exclude the rest. He's not there for the story. He's there to promote the advocation of what he's saying. You know? That's some bullshit.
So the hip hop documentary, he dropped it or he's dropping it?
No, they're saying he's working on it. You know?
Yeah, he's not from.
And the brother Asar is asking me if what I think about it. That's what I think about it, though. You know?
He's not from New York, so what is he really going to
They don't. Yeah. What is he gonna say? You know what I'm saying? Listen, I had to correct a brother that has been in hip hop forever, and he said he didn't know about a term, us Puerto Ricans being called Germans, where that came from. And he said, oh, it must have been a term, the 5%.
Yeah, I seen you post that.
Right? You see how people, they don't mean it maliciously. Even when they don't mean it maliciously, they say some wrong shit.
I never understood where it came from growing up. I'm like, yo, why are they saying Germans?
See,
like
they say, people say that it was from the motorcycle clubs and they was dressing like German with the big boots and everything. And I never thought about that as a kid because when I saw motorcycle clubs when I was a kid, I thought they was dressing like heavy metal rockers.
Yeah,
so I didn't take it as a Nazi thing. So I didn't see the connection, you know? But I know that they was being called German and it was being used as like, yo, you're foreigners, you're not here. You know what I'm saying?
That's probably what it was.
Right?
I never looked at it like that till now.
Yeah. So it's probably a combination of a lot of those things. But when people say they used to use the Nazi swastika and stuff like that, the swastika, right? The Nazi swastika is not from Nazi Germany.
No,
that's an old Indian symbol. Yeah, they just reverted it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I've seen a lot of people use that back then. Because remember back then, you know this guy because that's where you from. The Bronx culture was about making your own clothes and making your own patches. That's why I love saying the low life with the whole sewn garment. That's a way of showing the homage. Like we make our own shit, we fix it. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. It's like one of the only polos I ain't put shit on it. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But like the everybody was throwing patches of things, and when they learned about spiritual concepts and shit, which were very popular in the 60s into the 70s, they was throwing it on it. You know what I mean? So it was either or, So it's a whole bunch of things, But we get blamed for a lot of shit. we get blamed for a lot of shit, you know. So, you know, we were the only ones teaching in the prison, so people blame everything wrong that comes from prison on us too. You know what I'm saying?
Teaching knowledge yourself.
Teaching the knowledge though, but like nobody teaches anybody anything in prison. So when people new things come out of prison, they say it comes from us, right? But that's the weight of being the creator.
Crazy part is we wasn't the only ones teaching in prison. You know what I'm saying?
Of course, yeah. You know?
We wasn't the only group that was doing things. There was other groups also doing things.
Right. Absolutely. You know. But there's a presence. It's different. It's different what we was doing, you know. And a lot of firstborn and all, they went in and out of prison. A lot of the first fruit. So the prisons was getting moments where real, true, and living gods was really in it, you know? Was really in it.
God understood.
Absolutely.
You heard Jada Kidd say, I never did a day without the jails on Smash. You ever heard him say that line?
No.
He's living. He's the living embodiment of that line. He never did a day, but he has the jails on Smash. That's a fact.
I get a lot of mail, God, and I have to send a lot of letters back, you know, to correct things and shit, you know. Like,
Never did a day without the jails on Smash.
a lot of things. If people in jail and they have like 120 on a sheet of paper, like front and back, the whole thing on one sheet of paper, that's from me. That's from me because C Allah, when he was alive, remember the perfection. I love the guy C Allah. He saw that I did it. I was just at work and I was bored. So I started playing with Microsoft Word and I put all of 120 on one page and I printed it out.
Like real small?
Yeah. I made columns and I made front and back and I printed it front and back because I had the printers there, right? And I worked in book publishing. So I printed it out and this before, you know, phones and all that shit. So I was like, I want to always reference it. So I laminated it, put that shit in my pocket and shit. You know what I mean? And I was showing the God. He said, let me get some of those. And I gave him like 2 copies though. But he, you know, they had printed. The guy had a copy. He started sending it to everybody. I told him I had some typos in there. You know, like there's typos in there. Shit, I had to fix it. And he said, okay. He still sent that shit to everybody. And I was like, the people would come on, yo, I got that 120 on the sheet. I said, what? What? For years, people used to ask me, yo, God, can you get me a 120 on the sheet? And I'm like, no, God, you got to go do it, though. You can't just get that shit. I'll give it to people that had 120, but not like they acknowledged it already, but
120 on the sheet.
Well, on the sheet, the whole thing. I made it that small, yeah. I made it that small. Yeah. This is the type of time I had on my hands at work. You know.
You always got time on your hands at work.
Depends on what you got.
Depends what type of work you're doing.
You know. Yeah. You know. But what I advocate. So knowledge in 120. You're also writing down all your questions about degrees. You know, what don't you get out of this though? What can't you build on? If you can't build on a degree and have a unique build, consider that you don't understand it. And try to make questions. If you're not good at making questions, then you're just gonna end up learning this by having explanations. And you'll just be another knowledge is to look, listen, and observe, which that doesn't mean knowledge. That means that I wanted you to shut the fuck up and teach, right? You know? That's how you get knowledge. That's not what knowledge is. You know? You said wise words being spoken will be said every... Yo, that's like the wisdom day, and then all the wisdom cipher days, you'll be saying that. So that's like 11 days you're saying wise words spoken. It's excruciating, man. And then the 12th day also, and then the 12th day. So that's 12 days. 12 days you'll be saying wise words spoken in some vein. It's disgusting. I never seen that movie, the film, The Cry of Jazz. I definitely would like to see it though. Malik, you said why was weather prophetic or used so much? In that degree, it's used because it's a metaphor for how we build. Why the build degree in the 1 to 40 is so important, and why weather is so important, because we cause all the weather. You cause weather to happen every time you breathe. So understand that the weather currents and the weather atmosphere is just a magnification of the way we breathe. You know what I'm saying? So that means that the way that we live, breathe, and conduct ourselves on the planet can actually affect all of the planet. We don't see these effects though because of what? Everything is artificial, right? The industrialization of the world, which is a new thing. Understand that the industrialization of the world is just about 100 years old. So that's pretty fast on how fast they could ruin the planet. You see how it's unnatural.
It's cold.
See, one of the things, right, when you start learning ancient history, is realize that all the developments that they've gone to to abuse the earth, use fuel, make all these things, build these things, build these buildings, all of these things, these cars. These are things that could have been done and were decided not to do. You see what I'm saying?
Mm.
Our ancient civilizations, especially in a book called Serpent in the Sky. I could send you that. You should email me and say, remind me to send you that. It's a book that where John Anthony West simplified the work of R.S. Schwaller-Lubitz, who wrote very, let's just say he wrote very heavy-handed though. He has books that are like 50 pages long, and you will have a headache at the end of that shit.
Mm.
These shits are tough. He did not write them for the layman. Books like The Temple in Man, where he shows how the Temple of Luxor was designed like the human body, which revealed the genius of our ancestors. Like they built a building that moved like parts of the body. You know what I'm saying? So he had many books. And John Anthony West, The Serpent in the Sky book, was basically taking all of his writings and trying to make a simple, more layman's version. You know what I'm saying? And so it's a good book to read, you know? And in there, he talks about how the ancient Egyptians, right, the people of Kemet, our ancestors, they had the ability to create many things and chose not to if it had repercussions that were detrimental to the planet or the people. We made decisions not to do certain things. And people don't think, they still don't think like, it's not the fact that there's a Giza pyramid. It's the fact that there's a Giza pyramid that still is up and standing. That we can make things that have long-lasting power and don't destroy the planet. You know? But people don't think like that. The Western mindset doesn't think like that. They think about making something that will be exploitative and useful and able to extract the resources of the earth immediately.
That's devilish.
Right. It's devilish. Absolutely. You know?
Besides when you choose it, though.
That's peace, God. Right? So all these things are amplified.
Constantly taking and not putting anything back. I'm saying.
All right. Of course. Yeah.
We say, oh, you buy this pen, you get, we'll plant 10 trees. Like, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Malik, you asked me if I like Nelson George as a journalist. Nelson George is one of the great music journalists ever.
Yeah,
One of the
I
greats.
actually interviewed him one time.
Great music, yeah. No, he's one of the dope ones. I read a lot of his work though later on. Like, I started to go back and read certain.
so hard to get a job here.
At City College? Nah, actually somebody put me on. The girl who was at a radio show there, she was already a journalist. She was a freelance journalist, but she also had a job at P.E.A.C.E magazine. She had a radio show. She was a co-host. And I was cool with her cousins, but her cousins didn't understand the opportunity we had while still dealing with her by working on a radio show. This is what we want to do. I stayed in contact with her, sending her music, calling up the show. She liked my personality. She said, come host it with me. That's how I got the music out. And that right there took me right. So I started off as a DJ / radio host.
What was the name?
Her name? Rakia Mays.
Rakia what?
Mays.
I know what that is.
You
Yeah.
know that? Yeah, I got a real long lineage. I got a long history.
Yeah. She was in the source too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she wrote a lot of stuff. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. She used me to actually hype her radio show up, and she took that shit and went to Power 5. Got there and said, "Fuck me."
The majority, I'm not even talking about her, but the majority of music journalists in hip hop, they use everything as a springboard. Hip hop was just a stepping stone, you know. I see this all the time.
I got some balls for her.
Yeah.
You know me.
That but that's real. I was just saying, but like, vibe was filled with lots of snakes, boy. That's all I'm gonna say. I'm gonna leave it like that.
Yeah, we talk both ears.
I was really oh man. Word about it, in my life, I never met black sellouts until I went to Vibe.
Really?
It blew me away. I was not ready.
On some real like sellout time.
I never saw brothers with locks that were phony. Phony niggas. Because back then you didn't have locks like that. Brothers didn't have locks like that. You rocked to this
She
and that.
had locks.
It was
wow,
yeah.
You said that. Wow.
I'm just saying.
You know what she did? Fuck it, I'm fucking with it. Yo, you know what she did when she got on the radio and all that shit? She straightened her shits out. Yo, she straightened her shits out, dog. Her shits was like that. First she had shit locks at first, they were short. And you know when you get the little ones, they shit locks. They grew. She got on, started being in the shit. When I went to go visit her one time at a party just to see how she was doing, she thought she was all that. Her shit was straight down to her back. I said, yo, this is crazy.
Yo, that's
She permed her up.
Yo, man.
Putting your locks
She
out.
permed up. She straightened her shit out. Her shit was like.
Listen, as you get older though, it's not a thing to just criticize it. Oh, that's some bullshit. There'll be a point where you'll finally be at that moment though, where you have the option to sell out. There'll come a time though. You know what I'm saying? There'll come a time. You know? And it's not gonna come when you're good. Well, I won't do that though. I got shit here. No, you know.
It's gonna come when I need the most.
Yeah. Like if you don't, you'll be unemployed. You'll you'll be out left to dry. You know what I'm saying? You make your choice. You will make your choice. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, man. It's gonna be great when it happens. It's gonna be great. You know? Yo, when it happened to me, I was sacrificing a lot. And I was like, man, this is like the Guru song, man. And all I could think of was Gangstar, Daily Operation. I ain't doing that corny stuff. But to tell you that your chart positions will go up. Remember the song, The Conspiracy? And I was like, oh man, I ain't doing that corny stuff. I was just like, that was the line in my head. I ain't doing that corny stuff. That was it. You know what I'm saying? Listen, I was told the right things. And I said, but I don't know if it's true. He said, don't worry about it though. Don't worry about it. Just write that. And you'll be good. And I was like, nah, I can't do that. Let you gotta do it. You know?
Right, that one you gotta do. Put your name on that one.
Yeah, that's it. Put my name on shit. Yeah, that happened, you know?
Oh, they would like put your name on it when you didn't write it?
Yeah. I had to put my name on it. Yeah. I had to be the author of it. I had to say, no, I can't do that. Can't do it. You know? And when when it even happened after I got knowledge. When it happened after I got knowledge, though, I just chuckled though. I was like, we don't do the wisdom knowledge. You know what I mean? And it was okay with me. When I had knowledge though, I was like, this is what I'm trying to tell you. After I got knowledge itself, I was like, it's okay, because like every time the devils did something, it just shows and proves my degree. I got a degree for that. You know what I'm saying? Some people's in the first. Some people's in the second degree. You know what I mean? Some people's in the 14th degree. They're 85. You know what I mean? Some people's in the 15th, they're the 10%. You know? I was like, yo, this is showing improving in degrees, man. I'm like, yo, the older God told me, you know what I'm saying? It's what it is. You know? Doesn't mean I liked it though, but I didn't let him rob me of my heartache and my anger and shit like that. You know?
Make you better.
Yeah, man, you know? Everything is your energy, right? And where you channel it. A real thing about kung fu, when you learn kung fu, the Chinese always talk about like this reserve of chi. And you don't use that reserve of chi. And if you wastefully use it though, it withers away quicker and it's harder to replenish. But when you decide when and at the right appropriate time, it could replenish you even as you dispense it. This also applies to women, by the way.
That's what I was thinking about when you was.
That's right, you should be thinking about, young man. That's right, you should be thinking about that. Because certain women though will actually deplete you,
That's a fact.
but with the sun. And the way it's supposed to work though is we give out the sunlight and we're supposed to be good. Right? Night, night, see you tomorrow. We always gonna be there. But if they deplete your energy, start thinking about certain things. What's going on here? This woman looks great, but she's a vampire right here.
Right.
That's real things. That's real things. And it goes both ways, you know what I mean? Obviously, you know, men are there, they blood suck women's energy, but men corrupt women by corrupting them with their energy.
Right.
So they're not necessarily robbing the energy, they're corrupting the energy.
So is it?
Because their energy is weak,
So they're making them filthy as well.
corrupting it. Though.
So
They're saying mud
Right.
on their mirror.
Right.
So is it true when they say that a no good woman is made that way by God's name?
I'm not gonna say that though
I don't
because
think that.
no,
I don't know.
only that it could be yes or no, but women are affected by all types of things before they get into it. This is like us,
Right.
they're affected by realities before the relationship.
Right.
The life they lived, the choices they had that had nothing to do with sexual choices.
Right. How they grew up in their home.
Right? How what you know, like you do this is what we did with women and right? This bitch was a sellout already though, and she you know? This bitch is about the money though. She's just talking a good game. She just likes the look of the revolutionary. I've been in these relationships. You know what I mean?
Word.
Right? Women love to be with a revolutionary. But they don't like to they don't like the building blocks of revolution. You
The
know what I'm saying?
actual work, the struggle.
Oh no! This is what I had two women tell me this growing up. One I had a child with. Another one was lived in my building. We grew up together. Whatever. These were both my bros, right? On separate situations, they said one said her mother said it, and the other one said her sister said it. They said my mother must have told me, "Why I fuck with a man that's getting together when I can fuck with a nigga that already got it."
No, that's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and and I said, yeah, but when you fuck with a nigga that already got it, it's
See,
not
when
yours.
you're young,
It's
you
not
think
yours.
you're young. The problem is, it is something to really consider. You'll get with a woman, and you say, "Look, could be the earth, everything," and she'll be Ashford and Simpson with me. We'll build it up and build it up, right? But then all of a sudden, they don't realize this happened. This is my experience, right? I'm young. I'm getting the knowledge. I'm learning kung fu, all this stuff. Like I spend many hours learning this stuff because I'm like, yo, watch, I'm gonna build it up and build it up.
Be solid.
But then they're out. You know what I'm saying? Because
took too long to get your shit together.
exactly, they're not with you for that long.
Nope.
They don't. They have to believe in it.
But then when you get it together, they'll try to bring their ass back.
Yeah. You know.
Stand outside.
Right. But see, the thing is, though, God, is that for them getting it together means you being rich or something.
Right.
And so the way they value getting it together, they'll never see it in you.
Nope.
And you should never have to get it
Prove that.
together
Right.
for that.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
This is what
Never.
I learned that.
That's the coldest words too.
Yeah, but
God, I learned that the hard way.
I learned
did
that
not
the hard
learn
way.
that easily.
I learned that.
Elders taught it to me, but I was already steeped in it.
You know what? You know when I got it like crazy because I knew, like you probably see me write about this sometime on my page. About 14, 15, I became friends with a street woman. She was a little bit older than me. You know what I'm saying? When about 14, 15, she probably in her late teens, going on 20. And she was in the street hustling everything, herself and, the streets, you know what I'm saying, drugs and shit. And she seen I was rough around the edges. She seen how I moved with women, but I didn't have it together. And she put me on to solid game. You know what I'm saying? And this is situations that I didn't have nobody teaching me. Not my father, not my brother, not nobody. I learned about women from a woman who wasn't on no BS with me. You know what I'm saying? And that's the best thing that could have ever possibly happened. You know what I'm saying? When you learn the truth about women from a woman who don't got no ill intentions with you, she just wants you to be okay. She's gonna tell you everything about it. And she put me on to everything. You know what I'm saying? Because she already see how I was moving a little aggressive because in my home life, I didn't really have a great relationship with my mother and my sister. I didn't like the bullshit that they were doing. And when I would go out in the street and I would see women or girls doing the same way, I was just like, yo, nigga, get out of here. I was with it. So she smoothed me out. You know what I'm saying? And those situations that occurred when they both said, like, yo, why should I mess with a nigga like you getting together? When I go fuck with a nigga that's already having it. The reality is that when you choose to do that, it's never really yours unless you messing with a dude that nobody really wants. He got his shit together, but he's like a bird. No woman is really dealing with him no matter whether he got the money or not. Nobody just can fuck with him. You know what I'm saying? And there's foundations that you have to build. You know what I'm saying? That you would like to want to build with the woman. And more than likely, the way society has taught things to be, they're not going to stick around for that. They feel that they can always do better. You know what I'm saying? The one that's sticking with you, you'll understand it when that happens. But they most likely going to always exercise their options between the legs. Because that's an option that.
Man, you gotta test things, and you don't see red flags because you don't want to. And don't have the ego that you're the God and you could teach anybody and you could fix anybody. That's for the babies. That's not for grown women. Okay? Grown woman is the hardest person that you teach.
Because like we were saying earlier, how like reality also plays a part into what they're doing when it comes to like what they're bringing to a relationship. You know what I'm saying? So that also starts in the home. Like, how was their relationship with their father?
Right.
I'm saying, like, was he really being a provider? Not just money, but also like, was he there? You know what I'm saying?
Knowledge, because the best thing a woman can learn about a man is from a man. Like I said, the best thing I learned about a woman was from a woman. You know what I'm
going, Sunez.
I'm about to go too.
You too?
Yeah, if they let me.
P.E.A.C.E. Be nice, yeah. Been here too long. Yeah, I got to stay here tomorrow night too.
Malik, that's wrong. Don't tell me about what the Mets ain't doing and the Braves. That's wrong. I quit following.
Peace, God. Y'all
Peace, God.
Peace, God.
Now remember, you said Elijah used weather to show our relationship to weather and its motion. I'm not gonna say he used it. I'm saying that he's answering that question. Like that's what he was learning. So,
It's funny, 'cause I got asked that same question. How does the wind work? I'm like, what?
What do you mean you get asked that question?
Well, I got asked that question. I was building with somebody. He asked me, how does the wind work?
God?
No, so a regular person I'm building with. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just like, why would I have to answer that question? That's my first thought. Like, why is that the question that we go to? You know what I'm saying? Like, if we're talking about, if you want me to show and prove why I'm God, why are we going to, what is the oxygen content in the air? Or why are we going to what makes the wind move? You know what I'm saying? especially if we're saying that we can't understand it fully anyway. Because at that point, we're not building on any foundation, any knowledge. You know what I'm saying? We're just talking. So I might as well just go home and go to sleep. And I'll get more out of that, you know what I'm saying, than just being here and building for no reason. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, you got the book.
Oh yeah.
My iPad downloaded the link because nothing else would download the book. But I put it in
What
my
book you got
iPad.
there?
Hasn't been thinking.
Oh, I never seen it covered like that.
Me neither.
It's nice. Shit. Why mine's look ugly?
Yeah, when I put it in my iPad, everything that you sent me,
Where'd you
that
get
shit
this?
open right now.
I had ordered it at a bookstore on Fulton.
The remember that the weather is really everything. It's the way the earth moves, its rotation. You know what I'm saying? It's everything that we're doing, the animals are doing, the way the plants are moving, the entire biosphere. It's a complete interaction. But the weather is not a mystery. It's the result of everything acting upon itself in this environment. Okay? The Bill degree talks about gravitation, drawing up the water into the Earth's atmosphere. So it's sort of about the intensity of the water, the moisture, because most weather is the major feature of weather is moisture, the way the water is dissipating everywhere. You know what I mean? Right? That's a major feature of weather. It's probably the focal point of weather, is what is happening to the water. Right? But when we talk about that, we're also talking about the environments and the way that the environment is destroyed environmentally or not affects the way that the weather works. You see? People look at the worst type of weather happens in the worst places and stuff, the most chaotic places, but they also happen to be where people are exploited the most. You know? It happens to be near the equator where the water is the most active, right? But that's also where people are exploited the most, where our resources are there the most, right? So it's all that.
In North Africa.
Yeah, it's not a mystery. It's just a large process, a large interactive process, right? But I do have some work to do. We'll get these emails out. You email me, remind me about any of the books or anything that you want to get.
Do you have any other Elijah Muhammad books?
I do, yeah.
Do you have
A
the
handful.
Theology of Time?
That's Elijah Muhammad.
I think I do, yeah. I think I do.
You got all them digital, right? You got them digital?
Yeah, PDFs, yeah.
PDFs? Yeah, I'm gonna email you those, man. I'm gonna keep those because I got the iPad, the iBook part. I got that. I got everything that you sent me
Okay.
in the iBook part now, so I can just.
Most of the stuff I send is EPUB, so I have Google Books and things like that. I'm good to open those.
Yeah, the iPad opening right up.
That's good. That's good. That's good. All right. All right. So I'm gonna say peace to everyone here.
Because that's my first love.
We'll continue to build. Contact me. All right. Peace of God's, earths, and everyone
Yeah.
that took the time. Peace.